Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS,
I don't have a problem with him, but I don't think he's that and a bag of chips.
BlackGirlMarvel,
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms,
That was like our favorite movie for some reason. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed that movie.
Allthemoviethings,
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The Pre-Review with BlindBiggie,
Hey, this is BlindBiggie. Welcome to the pre-review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I'm the Real Study movie voice guy.
Let's go to the poster wall.
And welcome to The Real Study. This is The Real Study Season 7. Wow, we're way ahead of it. Season 2, Episode 7. And I am MrSniDBitS, and as always with me is BlackGirlMarvel and all the movie things. No Tyler makes films tonight. He has work, and work, of course, takes precedent over everything else. Well, hopefully.
Yippers.
But we got three Oscar Isaac films we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be doing A Most Violent Year, Ex Machina, and The Card Counter. So 2 of these are A24 films. But we're going to move over to the main screen and say hello to everyone. How are you guys doing this week? All right. So everybody's doing... Oh, wow. Law just left already. She's like, I'm not doing great this week. So, yeah, we are going to be doing an all Oscar Isaac evening. So those of you who are huge fans of Oscar Isaac, like myself, will probably really enjoy this discussion. We can get started right away. BlindBiggie making fun of me there a little bit in the chat. She's back. Okay, so she's not that upset with us then. That's good. Why don't we start with BlackGirlMarvel? And we're going to start with A Most Violent Year. I almost said A History of Violence, which is a whole nother movie. But the A Most Violent Year, A24 film starring Oscar Isaac, Jessica Chastain, as well as several other well-known actors, including who was the other one?
Albert Brooks.
Brooks, that's the guy I was thinking of. Albert Brooks. His hair was really different in this film, kind of threw me off.
He had a major wig.
I could not figure out his name to save my life. I was like, I know him. He's Marlin from Finding Nemo, but I was like, what's his name? What's his name? And I kept going, Mel Brooks, but I know it's not Mel Brooks. I know it's not Mel Brooks. And then I looked his name up and it's like Albert Brooks. And I was like, I wasn't too far off. I had the Brooks part.
Yeah.
Just didn't have the Albert part. A Most Violent Year was weird. It was a film that like I was very confused on what to believe and who to believe. I watched it like, okay, because I like Oscar Isaac, I always go in being like, he's great. He's a good guy, always. And I went into this like, yeah, he's a good guy, but it was like, were they pushing him to be a bad guy? Or like, were they pushing him to be something that he wasn't? Like, it was just, I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of things unanswered. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like it was a bad film, but it was just like, you get little background things. I enjoyed it for the most part because it was a most violent year. That year was, it's a heck of a year for Abel, which I'm like, his name is Abel. Like, let's just stop playing games. But anyway,
I know it's spelled Abel, but pronounced Abel.
It's Abel. I was like, okay, Ong. Like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? Or Soka. Anyway, I was just like, I don't know. It was a weird film. Acting was impeccable. Okay, Oscar Isaac was amazing. Jessica Chastain was top notch. It's always funny to me seeing actresses be like a little outside of their norm. Like she has like the fake long the fake long nails, like the very sharp bob. I know it's like 1981. She's the daughter of a gangster, so like she has this like air about her. You know what I mean? She was like a little bit more with it than he was. She had like her balls are a little bit bigger than his. If we
way
wanted
bigger.
To put it into we wanted to put it in some words, But it was interesting. It just felt like a really good man trying to take a company that was dirty once and trying to clean it up, but because he has to still be a little dirty. You know what I mean? And it was just like And he had like a cutness about him too that was like kind of that I feel like only Oscar Isaac could play. Like can make you feel so sweet for him, but then like he'll say stuff like he'll be like the guy at the end was like, spoiler alert, the guy at the end was like, cut me in on the business. Like I did this for you pretty much. Like I got beat for you. I did all these things for you. And he was like, nah, I can't do that. And I was like, he was just so cut about it, like, nah, I can't do that. And then he was just like, all right, well, just take care of my family. Okay. He was like, all right, I'll take care of your family. But
Oh, he definitely had his family. He even
you don't
said
get
that with
none
the
of this.
lawyer. He was like, I'll get you the lawyer. I'll take care of you.
Yeah. He's like, I'll take care of your family, but I ain't gonna, you don't get a cut of this, baby. Like, you don't.
Right.
And I thought that was very, I don't know, it was just very interesting. I wanted to, each of these films, I wanted to know more about Oscar's character. And all of these films don't really give you much. They give you a little bit and then they like fill in the blanks for however you feel. But it, I still enjoyed the film. It's pretty good.
All right. How about you, all the movie things? What did you think of Most Violent Year?
Yeah, I thought it was great. What's funny is like we switched up one of the films and we made that's why we have the card counter. So there is kind of a theme with all three of these as far as like these characters that he plays. They're all like kind of troubled, or there's something about them that's not quite right. They're not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, outright bad, but so I think that's interesting. But yeah, I thought this progressed really well. It's always fun to see Oscar and Jessica together because they're like really great friends. They went to school together.
They did like
And
what, another movie together, didn't they? Do like another movie together?
They've done a
they've
couple, yeah.
well they worked on Scenes from a Marriage,
Mm-hmm.
which was a incredible show on HBO Max, and it's basically a remake of Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage that was done a long time ago, and some things are flipped, like some of the roles are flipped in it.
Excuse me.
But man, I mean, those two. If you have not
Mhm.
seen that, like I tell people to see that all the time, and it's just, yeah, it's just incredible because it's so much of just those two. And when I see this, I see a lot of similarities, not from Scenes in the Marriage, but as far as their performances and how they play off each other. They're just so comfortable with each other, and that really comes through. Yeah, no, it was great to finally see this. This is a movie I've been wanting to see for a while. It's the first time I saw it.
Same.
Yeah, and cinematography was great. Yeah, I think it's just really interesting to see him play this. Like his history is, they kind of keep his history hidden a little bit, but he has some history
Yeah.
with the mafia life or the gangster life, whatever you want to call it. And he's trying to like not go back to that kind of thing. Like I feel like that's what his roots are in. And obviously, because like he ends up, he's married to Jessica's character, which is, she's still kind of rooted in it, and wants to like, it's
Yeah.
like her default, like, why can't we just keep doing that, and then they're like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, it was a kind of a like, I must have been into this film more than I thought I was going to be, because I started like talking to the screen, I'm
Nice.
like, oh my god, stop, what is going,
That's
like
what
just
I was
one thing
doing.
after another,
That's
man.
what I was doing.
Like,
I was like, they just can't leave him alone. Like I just
yeah,
kept
like
yelling at the
what is
screen.
happening?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it
Mhm.
was, yeah, I thought it was great.
It throws me off to see period pieces from the 80s because I lived in the 80s. So when I see a period piece from that time, the lighting, the filters they used kind of definitely made it feel very 80s. Obviously, the aesthetic of the sets and the vehicles they were using, those big kind of blocky
Costumes.
trucks from the
Yeah.
oil company.
Mhm.
But there was an intensity to a lot of the characters, even when they were not being intense. Each of the other oil people, as well as the gentleman he was trying to buy the oil refinery from, all had a quiet intensity about them, where you could tell
Yeah.
they meant business, but they were never showing it on screen, which I thought was interesting. The only people we saw intense on screen were the kind of the lowly nobodies, the people that were jacking the trucks and the drivers. Their relationship, I think, is summed up between Jessica and Oscar's characters. I think is summed up really nicely with the deer scene. I think we really get an idea that what he wants and would do.
That was going to happen too. Yeah.
Right. And he approaches it, and you can see he's contemplating, how am I going to take out this deer, right? And she just just takes care of it. And not with
it
just
was
like
it wasn't just, I was about to say, it wasn't one blam.
It was like 3 blams.
It was a couple of blamos.
And on top of that, she didn't warn him. She just walked up next to him and started shooting the deer, which he's like, if he had moved left instead of right, that would have been wow.
It's for him,
well, like afterwards, he kept his composure too. Like I would have been, like,
you could tell he was a little miffed,
right? But he
I just felt like he was more mad that she did that.
There's this constant restraint from him, though. Like he was, always having to even the scene when they confront each other at home, he's like restraining so much.
That's such a good scene.
Yeah,
that's such a good scene. It was like, I felt like it was a masterclass of a scene to watch these two kind of go at it, and then it was just their scenes together are always like, in this film in particular, because it's the only film I've seen with the both of them in it, like together, like this is their scenes were very like palpable. Like I could feel all their emotions every time they were on screen together. Like he was just like he pretty much told her, like, I picked you up from the gutter, bro. Like you still want to be this
sounds like
thing
it was
that
the other way, honestly.
It was the other way around, because you work for my daddy, baby. You wouldn't even have this business if it wasn't for me. So don't act like you did me a favor. We helped each other out.
That was a 1981-ish type thing. You could tell it was like, well, this is my business. I bought it. I did it. And she's like, not without me, you didn't.
Not what I mean, because if I didn't probably give my daddy the go ahead, you wouldn't have this business.
It's like I get that. Like even when she's saying that, so still I'm like, yes, and like I'm the one that's like trying to make it into something more than what it was, and like trying to do it the right way. You're still trying to be this criminal,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And then skimming the money.
But listen, that money, but that money helped out though. Like, listen, it's messed up as it is. It's
well, he finally
it helped. It helped out the way that it needs to help out, but
well, he didn't have to go to the Italian mafia, which was what he wanted to avoid.
What he was gonna do,
right? Yeah, he would have been in 600,000 to them. Nobody. I like the way that guy said it. He's like, "We are not the kind of people you want to be."
I know, like I was really surprised he was saying that. It's like, we're not the kind.
It's like he warned him. He was just like, "Listen, we can do this. We got the money for it, but I don't think you, of all people, will want to do this. Like, I don't think you got the gumption." Sir, your wife might be do, but you don't get the gumption to do this.
And it's more than the money. There would be favors owed and various things he would have to deal with down the line, and that would be difficult.
Probably forever.
Probably
put that over him forever.
Yeah.
But one of the scenes that made me laugh and annoyed me a little bit was when he was with the when he was with the Jews, and they were like talking about the business, and the guy kept explaining it. So he's like, yeah, I understand. He was like, because if you don't, because he's like, I understand. He's like, and he was like, I understand.
He's like, give me the pen, dude. I'll do it. We're done.
like that part just cracked me up so hard, because he was just like, I'm really trying to explain to you, like, if you fall out of this deal, I keep your money, and then I get more money. Like, that's how I read the scene. Like, I keep your money, I get more money. You good? Okay, bye. Have a good day.
That's a heck of a deal for them. Like, they were fixed no matter what.
Yeah.
One thing I did enjoy was I thought that it was interesting to see Oscar Isaac play a character who's actually Latino or Spanish in descent, because he tends to play the like everyman, or like could be. It's hard to tell.
He's just ambiguous.
He's very racially ambiguous. Yeah, he's he can play, because he have like olivey skin, he could play like any ethnicity. He could be white one day.
Right.
He could be, because ain't no way his son Timothy Chalamet. Like, I'm just saying.
Or even his brother in this film. I was like, that's his brother?
Right. Yeah.
I was saying,
that guy, I mean, he could be. I don't know what his parents look like. So yeah, they could be like split parents.
Just because his hair dark don't mean that they related.
But no, he full on spoke Spanish and knew it well.
Yeah.
And he had a little bit of an accent, a slight accent. And then even in the description of the film, he's an immigrant, so he's obviously come from somewhere.
His last name Morales.
Right, Morales is another
That's,
clue. So
even
this
if
is
they
about
would've
as
never said
close
anything.
a character as I've seen to him playing from his actual background. But like you said, like most times, even in like Sucker Punch or the other two films we've watched this week, you can't tell
he's just a man.
Right.
But I
Just
wish more films were like that. Like a lot of people can't be racially ambiguous. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you just made characters be people, then they could be any race. Because like, in all honesty, like this character, even if you would have just changed the name, this character could have been like an Asian person, or somebody of some other descent. It could have been anybody. Like he plays very like anybody could play this role. I mean, not anybody, because obviously he got the role, but like any type of ethnicity could be the role. Like it's not specific to his ethnicity. So
as far as I know,
like that.
Jessica actually got him this role. She was the one that suggested him for this, because this was the role he did before Ex Machina, and of course working with them with A24 for this, I think of course helped him to get that role
for sure.
Even though the movies came out almost
I didn't even know it was an A24 film. I was like, oh, this is A24? I was like, oh, cool. I didn't pay attention to that.
And it's all over the place with them, because you never know what you're going to get with an A24 film, because they produce whatever's a good story. It's not, that doesn't mean every A24 film is
or you can get Marcel with a shoe, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Marcel with the Shell is such a brilliant film.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on just that movie
haven't watched
alone.
it yet. So maybe one day.
Okay.
Honestly, one day, just to throw this out there, I would like us to do one film and go the full 2 hours.
The deep dive on one film?
Yeah, like a deep dive on one film. I think it'll be fun. It doesn't have to be every time, but I think like just,
it has to be the right film. It has to have enough meat in order to get through that much.
Like it's a possibility we can do that with Wakanda Forever, because that was a meaty film to me.
And we will have a fifth person that night, because we'll have to have Marvelite back. So we'll have 4 of us and him, and by then it'll be overly analyzed, so there'll be plenty to bring to the table by the time I finally get to see it. Okay, so
not Biggie like in X-Men Apocalypse. We got to talk, sir. We'll continue.
He does. But that's okay. We all have our different tastes.
I like elements. I like elements of that film. I do. I want the whole thing.
It's better than Dark Phoenix.
A dumpster fire. The best thing about Dark Phoenix was when Mystique died. I was like, finally, hopefully she's reborn to the villain I want her to be.
The best thing about Dark Phoenix was getting to see Jubilee. No, was it Jubilee? Jubilee. It was either Jubilee. No, it was Dazzler. Anyways, we got to see some cool Dazzler. Like actual other X-Men for once, which was nice. But again, they didn't get much on screen time. What about his relationship between Abel and the DA?
His lawyer?
The DA.
David Oyelowo?
Yeah.
I could tell that the DA was like, I'm doing this because it's what's best for my career, not what's right.
Oh, yeah, that's all he was focused on.
Right. Like so once it looked like Abel had enough clout, he was like, maybe we need to be in bed together. I was like, you seem shady.
Because I mean, that was the point. That was the point of him getting that oil refinery place, was because it was on the river or wherever it was, and it was in a central location that he would act like people would need to come to him for stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so once he finally kind of like got that, the dude was like, all right, well, you want to be friends? You want to be friends?
Like,
I thought it was
in a position,
right. I thought it was insane that Chastain's character, who I keep forgetting what her character's name is, Anna, was not only hiding all of her cooked books while the DA and they were raiding the house, but then goes outside and just talks mad shit to the DA to his face about how they're not criminals, even though she is, and they're not doing all these things, even though they are. It's
my
insane.
thing is this: if they search the whole house and the premises, y'all ain't look underneath the house.
Yeah,
like I was just
know,
like,
that's what I was thinking too. Like, why are they not going to look there? Like,
that's not a great. That wasn't. I was like, I'm like, is he going into the woods with this stuff? Like, because, like, other than that, I can look underneath your house.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe maybe that's not part of the search.
Maybe they're only allowed to search like literally
maybe inside the premises. Yeah, maybe.
And nobody thought to walk around the back, because it's under the deck, or whatever. I think it's because at first I actually thought she was worried about her guests, and then when I saw them moving the boxes, I'm like, oh, what a ploy! Good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
No, she played that.
I totally
She
forgot
played
about
that
that, too.
very well. She played that very well. And she played it like a very much like a wife that just I don't understand what
Right,
this is.
yeah.
Me and my family, we're
What
just
about
having a
this- what about the
party. What about the children and the
Yeah.
guests? But also, I kind of felt bad for the kids because I was like, not only did my daughter find a gun in the snow, okay, and she was
Yeah,
playing
man,
with it
that
all
was-
in her face.
Yeah.
That freaked me. I was like, grab the gun. I was like, if
Especially
this little girl
she
shoots
pointed
her,
it like right at herself.
yes. I'm like, if this girl shoots her,
And
her
she's like
daughter,
not listening the whole time.
not
either. I'm
listening
like,
the whole time.
listen to
And
your mom.
then
Like, you know
the
it's a
older-
gun.
And then the
Why
older
are you-
daughter is like, is it real? Like, girl, if you don't,
Why
do
didn't
something-
you take it from your sister? That's what I
exactly.
want.
yeah.
I
like-
was I was super mad about that, and then I was
Yeah.
super mad that this girl not only did her birthday party get cut short, but I'm pretty sure none of those parents are going to want their kid to hang out in the house or
Oh,
around
yeah.
that kid.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
time they ever
I
went
felt
over
so
there, the
bad.
cops raided the place. You know, let's hang
I
out
felt
on
so bad.
Saturdays, right?
Mhm.
No,
No,
for
I'm
real,
with
I
you.
felt so bad. It's like, dang man, these kids don't deserve that.
So for a drama, there were definitely some intense moments. I think when he was chasing the stolen truck and
Man.
going down
That was a
kind of
good
deeper
scene.
and deeper.
Yeah, that was like-
Yeah,
and it
I
got
was like,
so
this is not
dark.
good.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was
You can
like,
see how see
what?
how fed up he was at that moment. You can see, and I think it was pretty cool that he had a system in his car, so that
Yeah,
they can like
that's
all
sweet.
communicate. Like I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
but
And he was
I
a true
felt like that
businessman. He
scene-
was always
he was a
That
true
was-
business, like he
of
was
what
Well,
always
that was like
around.
an 80s.
Yeah.
That was an 80s thing too, because my dad had a CB radio in
Really?
his car.
Hmm,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Cool.
Yeah.
I did.
It
I
was a
actually had a
thing.
CB radio for several
Yeah.
several years. We used to do this thing called CB tag, where you would actually use the signal from the CB to determine how close the other vehicle was, and you would hide around
Oh,
town
funny.
and actually try to track each other down with your CB radio signal.
Man.
It was fun, like
Things
but
we
it
did
was,
before the internet.
right. This is literally
right.
pre-internet. You could still do this, but everybody would have to go buy
Yeah.
a CB,
Yeah.
which you can still do.
So funny.
But yeah, my dad had a bunch of CBs from his business, and so we would do the same thing and communicate across town for the same
Yeah.
reason. So it felt very nostalgic for me in that way.
Mhm. Also, like the one thing too was like it was an 80s movie, but I just wish there was more like cocaine scenes. You know?
At least one.
I'm just
Yeah,
happy
just
that
like
I
one
don't know.
bump
I kind
would
of
be
like that
good,
it's
and I'd be
not
like, oh,
one
okay, yeah,
bump,
I believe
Brian.
that.
Just,
not
you know,
one
Just
bump.
something, just a hint
Honestly,
of cocaine.
If anybody did cocaine, I would assume his wife would be doing cocaine. If anybody did
Right.
cocaine,
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. She's got the nails.
I would just.
Do that.
She just has that air about
Well,
her.
she's like
She has
doing,
that
you
look
know,
to her.
cooking the books, you know, like, yeah.
Because every time you saw her crunching numbers, she was smoking. I mean, it would be no
Yeah.
surprise if she just
why would
she
she have
snorted
some
a little bit. If she just,
coke there?
She
but
got
I'm kinda
really
happy
good with
that
that pencil, right? When she
Yeah.
was, she got
No.
really good with that pencil.
Okay,
Because she
so
wasn't
I
even
watched
watching.
this-
She was like this, you know.
I watched this with a friend of mine, and we were watching it, and he was like, he saw that scene, and I was like, that's literally me at work. That's literally me at work, because
Yeah.
I like scan in
You get to know
papers, and
those
then I have
numbers so
to
well.
I scan in papers, and then I have to like put in the file numbers for each of the papers that I scan, and I'm
Mm.
literally right hand is on the keyboard, left hand is on the paper looking at the numbers, and I don't even
Yeah.
have to look at the so when
Oh,
she did that,
man,
I was like,
yeah.
that's hella
I'll just slow you
believable.
down so much.
It's hella believable.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
that
You
might
do
be
it
the
so
most
much,
believable
like-
thing I've seen in this. Because you do it so much, you just
Yeah.
you know where
That's how
you
much
know
she's been doing it.
you know it's like 147-258-3699. You know the numbers, you know where they
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
can just like.
Mhm.
I was like, that's so believable. I was like, that's the best scene in the whole movie. I was
Mhm.
like, the acting is impeccable.
Mhm.
Like,
Right? And she was smoking, right?
and she was smoking.
Yeah, she got that from Juilliard.
Yeah. I be having suckers. I be having a sucker. I don't smoke. I don't smoke at work. I can't do that no more. So
That's good. I'm glad you don't. I don't either anymore. I used to for far too long. Let's
I do
see.
sick of weed.
And I love that we're no longer on Twitch so that we can just talk about stuff. We don't have to keep ourselves totally hidden.
Concealed from the world.
Let's see. What does this get as far as a rating goes? So on IMDb, it gets a 6.2. That's interesting.
I can see it.
Oh, wait. No, wrong movie. Wrong movie. Okay, hold on.
Wow. No, I'm saying, I'm kidding.
It gets a 7. Okay, that seems a little more.
6.2 or 7, I can kind of see that. I'm not, I can kind of see that.
When the guy shows up at the end, when the
Julian.
when Julian shows up at the end,
I knew his name the entire time. I just kept saying his name. Oh, Julian. I just kept saying Julian.
Were you
Oh,
guys?
Julian,
Did you
poor
guys
guy.
just pick up on that it wasn't him there to hurt them? You know, he was there to just show them.
Oh
what he
yeah,
I
can
think
do.
he was there. Yeah, I think he was there to intimidate, but he couldn't get what he wanted. So he was just like, all right, because he has no out. He's a fugitive. He has no out.
hmm
The only out he had was Abel, and Abel was like, nah. So he was like, all right, take care of my family.
What about you, Brian? You think he was there? Do you think it was obvious he was there to hurt them, or he was already planning to do what he did?
I think he was already planning to do what he did because I think he was gonna make one last plea, but I think I think he had it already in his mind just because like regardless he was gonna go to prison. You know what I mean? So I think that fact alone was what
Yeah.
he knew. Like, okay, there's no way out of this. I have to like,
Yeah.
Well,
And the
because
crazy thing
previous-
too is
yeah.
like there's this like crazy like visual metaphor of like the blood on the tanker and then the oil coming out and this whole and
yeah.
like and he doesn't even like Oscar Isaac's
Flinch.
character doesn't
He
even like
flinch.
give any concern at that point anymore. He's like immediately concerned about the oil.
well, he
And
paid
Yeah,
$11,000
the
for that oil, so he.
No, totally. But the thing, like that's the thing, like that's how much he's like transitioning
Yeah,
into just like
to like, I don't
not
care
giving a
anymore.
fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Full
like,
blown
But they
corporate
pushed him.
sleaze.
But they all it's the funniest thing to me is that like all these other guys that's in the same business that pretty much wanted him out because he rose so quickly. That was pretty much still in like buying his oil from these people.
Right.
I did think it was amazing that the people that was still in the oil wasn't connected to any of these people. They were just thieves. That was like,
right.
you don't give guns to your workers, so this is an easy mark, and I can steal your oil and I can go sell it
And I'll sell it.
around town. So
Yeah.
I actually love that idea. I love that it wasn't like plotting. I
It
mean,
was
they
like
were
this mystery element.
yeah, it
to
was like this mystery
You're
element
just
to
like,
it,
who
and
is doing this?
who was doing it because like everybody's saying they're not doing it, but
But they all
But
feel
y'all
like
still
they might have
profiting.
been, right?
but they all
Yeah,
you
no,
know what I mean.
totally.
But
They all don't
you're
trust
all
each other.
profiting from it because you're all
Yeah.
still taking, you're still buying it, and you know it's mine. So
Mhm.
like I love that kind of came to like a head. He was just like, because that whole chase scene, like let me go back to the chase scene part. That whole chase scene kind of showed you who Abel used to be and who he's
Right.
trying to get away from.
Mhm.
Because not only did you chase them easily and then follow them on the train easily
Yeah.
and then tackle my man and incapacitate him easily. I was like,
Mhm.
what's his background, man? Somebody tell me, because he's nuts.
I was worried in that scene. I was like, Abel, please stop pistol whipping the guy. You're going to
Yeah.
hurt
He was just
him.
going to town.
Yeah.
And it was like one more hit, that guy
Mhm.
would have been brain damaged. Because he was just totally jacked from his face. And even the way he got up and
that's the
winded.
whole movie too, right? Like the whole movie, he's like towing the line of like going back and forth. At first when we first are introduced to him, he's just seems like a regular businessman trying to run this business, and he's got this great opportunity, to buy this piece of land, but then like as it progresses, the struggle gets more and more heightened, but
Mhm.
like inside him, but there's a lot of great external ways that they visualize that in the film of like representing the internal struggle that he's having. Like, damn, I'm gonna have to eventually, I guess I just gotta go back to, it's like I tried to do it the right way, but there's just too many things fighting me,
Mhm.
and so I'm
I
gonna need
think
to go back
I
to.
really feel like these people pushed him into something that they didn't want him to be. Like, I mean,
Right.
I don't know if it's a better way for me to say that, because it's like he tries so hard to just be like, I'm a good businessman. I run my business right. I run it
Mhm.
tight. And this
Yeah.
is why we succeed, because I train them, I teach them how to say
Mhm.
the words and do these things. And
Yeah, I love that scene too when he's
Yeah,
training
the
the
sales scene.
salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Bless
Bless
you.
I felt that coming years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
It just did not come out. But like he's like, I do these things for my team. This is why we
Mhm.
succeed, because we're diligent, hard workers, blah 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 blah. Also, he was kind of shady because Julian kept telling him like, I'm not built for this outside life. Let me be inside. And he was like, nah. You stay You stay outside. And it's like
Mhm.
you're not listening to people, just like people wasn't listening to him. Hopefully he rectifies that in the future. I'm assuming his life still goes on past the movie.
Right.
But
I would assume so.
you can tell he was like, there's a little something off with him, a little something shady with him, because he would use his sell tactics on his workers. And it didn't work with Julian. It broke Julian. He
Yeah.
broke Julian. You know what I mean? Anybody else, this probably would have spurred them on. They'd be like, yes,
Or they would have stayed and waited for the cops and dropped the gun. Like I didn't I understood that he was going to get in trouble for having the gun without a permit.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I know.
But
Like
stop running.
when he
dude.
ran, I know. I was like,
when he
nah,
ran, I was
damn,
like,
dude.
oh, Julian.
know.
And then he ran
was
into the
like-
same thing as the other person, and then they arguing. I'm like,
It was
I know. I'm like,
It was
don't
weird.
follow the guy. Like you just
no,
tried to like.
literally do not follow him. Like you look like you in cahoots.
And then the guy
Yeah,
almost
no,
like helped him out. He really just wanted to steal the truck. He didn't want to hurt him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, you just couldn't give us the truck. In all honesty, maybe if you wouldn't have bashed me in the face the first time and just tossed me out of
Right.
the truck, I might have
Yeah.
not had this gun.
They
Exactly.
didn't do that
terrorize-
with the other guy, the guy that Oscar Isaac starts chasing. Once he starts chasing him, they just pulled him out, and he was standing on the side of the road going, "Go get
Right.
him!" So they
No,
didn't
literally.
beat everyone.
Right,
Which
but
is
you
weird.
punched me in the face when you pistol with me, but I'm supposed to be okay and not have a gun. Like that whole discussion between them was so funny. He was just like, "Oh, you crazy? You gonna kill somebody? You
I
have a gun as
know.
well." What are we
I
talking
know. I'm like,
about?
what are you talking about? You both have
You brought
guns.
We
this
both have
on
guns.
yourself,
Yeah.
right?
You did
Yeah.
this to me. I'm afraid. So this
Yeah.
gun is the
And
only
he's all
thing
trying
I
to like talk
have.
about. There's people here. Like, what are you talking about?
He was like, "My God, what are you doing? It's crazy."
And then the other guy
Like,
just
now you're
bails.
concerned
He's
about,
like, "I'm done.
You know, human life.
No, literally, he's like, "You don't care about life?" Like, no, I
Yeah,
don't,
like-
because
I care about my
terrified.
own." You
Yeah.
kind of put me in
I
that
felt
position.
I really felt bad for Julian because
Yeah.
I've been in positions where I'm trying to express my fear and people not listening and
Mhm.
thinking that they can like manipulate me or gaslight me into doing what they want me to do, which is essentially what Oscar Isaac's character is, which is essentially what his business is. He usurps people into
Gas. I see what you
if
did.
you-
Gas.
you
Yeah,
know what
I
I'm
see what
Yeah,
you did.
You see? You guys caught it? Yeah. I be trying sometimes. I'm not as quick as Snitty, but I try sometimes. But I just felt bad for Julian. He was just like, I want to be in this business. I want to help it grow, but I can't be a driver. I can't do it, man.
Just let me do
But if I keep-
sales.
Let me just do sales. But here's my thing. If I keep getting beat up, why would you want me in the trucks? I'm just saying.
But then,
You know-
then they start attacking the salespeople too,
Mhm.
and it's like, well,
Yeah.
damn,
You ain't safe
no
nowhere.
one's
You might as
safe.
well just
Like,
go to
yeah. Like,
Go be a barber or
So
something.
they
I
don't
knew that was
actually.
gonna.
They don't go into that, right? They never
I
show
knew
you
that
what
was gonna
happens to
happen
him.
too. Yeah, like I know.
They just drop him off and then he just, I'm assuming he walked home. I'm assuming.
But they like dropped him at the dump or something. But he wasn't.
No, that's what I
killed,
was saying.
You know?
I was like, why did you drop me? You could have
Yeah,
just
there is that
punched me and
question,
left
like-
me on the ground or something. I don't know. Like,
Who
Yeah,
did
like,
it?
who's
And
behind
yeah.
attacking the sales kid.
yeah. Also, he's stupid. I would have hopped out of that vehicle. I would have tried to climb over the top and get out. You just sitting there waiting to see what they do.
I
to
thought
you?
they were going to dump him off a cliff. Like that's genuinely.
Me too. I thought they were
what
going
I
to keep.
doing.
I honestly,
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
because he was in that little tube thing. I was like, are they going to drop cement on him?
See, I thought he was in a
know.
cement truck at first. Then I realized
That's
it
what
was
I
a
thought
dump
too.
truck.
Well, actually, I thought he was in one of the oil trucks, like
Mm.
an empty oil truck or something.
Mm.
But then they like came up and showed that it was like completely open. But yeah, that was like one of the questions still left open for me was like, who was doing this? So which kind of made you think, okay, there is someone behind all of this. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But then
But then
so
no.
that's kind of an unresolved thing.
Because my thing
It
is, if the
is. It's like a
guy
red
was
herring. It's
jacking,
weird.
if the
Yeah.
guy was jacking trucks, but no. Okay, okay. Let me go back. Wasn't it the guy? But wasn't it the guy who was in the nice house, and he was like, "Same thing happened to me at your house. I mean, same thing happened to me, and then like I just put a fortress around my family." Wouldn't he? Because wasn't he the one who punched? Like, didn't he send out the people to punch the guy? Because he was like, "You were in my territory." I assumed it was him.
Maybe that makes
May-
sense. It could have been him because he
Right.
was poaching customers, and he even
Yeah,
calls
because he
him
was
out
like,
for that.
you were in
Yeah.
my territory. So I'm assuming it was him.
Hmm.
And it was like a one-off, I guess. And then he had that conversation with him, I guess, to
Yeah.
have that.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because I don't remember any specific instance where
Hmm.
he like admits to that. Like, oh yeah, this instance was me, kind of thing.
Yeah, I
But
don't think he admitted to it, but I think by him
it's
saying that
like
you were
alluded to it.
poaching my,
Yeah,
I would assume that it was he set that up.
Well, I
yeah,
think it's going to be handled in the second most violent year. When they do the sequel, it'll be when he tries
be
to
a
take over
most.
the whole New York area for
No,
oil,
we
Yeah,
already lived that year. It was 2020.
right?
We already
Uh,
lived that year.
they could do it now, right? Just 35,
Yeah.
40 years later. Yeah, no, this movie, no movies like this need sequel. Um,
No.
and I don't know if A24 would ever touch a sequel. That's an interesting thought.
If I was A24, depending on
and
what
they
it
might.
is, maybe not, because I feel like they do real good with the one-offs.
Oh wait,
just
Pearl.
like good.
Never mind. They have done
Yeah,
Oh
sequels.
yeah,
Never
that's supposed to
mind.
be a
they're
trilogy.
they're
That's
doing a
supposed to be a
trilogy.
trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So never mind.
So yeah, that'll be their first
Yeah.
trilogy.
So everybody has to do some amount of sequels, I guess. That's just the way of the
I
world.
can't wait till like what is it? Maxine comes out. I'm excited to see what that's about.
That I want to see as well. Okay, well, why don't we rate this movie? I think that we are going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to Ex Machina, at least from my perspective, because it's deep sci-fi and brings up some great existential questions and philosophy, etc., etc. And we do, of course, have the Real Studies pre-review with BlindBiggie that we're going to get into. And then, of course, we have
Excuse me,
the
guys.
other movie that we're going to be doing is The Card Counter, and we will. That one is spoily. So if you haven't watched that one, you might not want to stick around.
That one is spoily.
It really, well, I guess so is Ex Machina. The Most Violent Year, you could tell somebody about it and they might still watch it because even if you revealed things,
Right.
you're just kind of building the story.
Yeah.
There's no cliffhanger or
Yeah, you're not really
twist.
running too much by
Mhm.
yeah.
So why don't we just start the way we did today? And Lala, what is your rating of A Most Violent Year?
A Most Violent Year. I'll give it a 7. It's rewatchable. It's after like maybe a couple years, so you gotta let this breathe before before you go back and like. I mean, for me personally, I gotta let this breathe before I go back. But I'll give it a solid 7. The acting is amazing. The storyline can be a little muddled. As you can tell, we can't tell who punched the guy, even though we have our ideas. But it can be a little muddled. It's very long. I was like, Heavenly Father, cut 5 minutes.
It is 2 hours 5.
But yes, cut 5 minutes. You just give me a solid 2 hours or like an hour 58. Like I felt like some stuff could be cut, but overall the setting is a nice setting. You don't have any qualms on like who the characters are for the most part. Like they are very distinguished characters, from Albert Brooks to Jessica Chastain. Like they're very to like the other people that's around them. They're very distinguished characters. But yeah, I would say if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a I'll give it a 7
All
for
right.
sure. 12-year-old me wouldn't have touched it. Wouldn't. Just looking at the cover,
Just
I
the
would have
cover
been like,
alone, yeah.
I'd have been like, this not for
Like,
me.
what is this?
What is this?
It has 2
Yeah.
people on it. What do I want to watch this
Yeah.
for?
No,
kidding.
literally. Where's the cartoons?
And they're in
Love
black and white
story.
too. It's not even like overly exciting. They're just kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, but I
there.
love black and white. So does a kid. So
That's fair. If you love black and white, stay tuned. Next week we will be watching 3 black and white films.
Yes, we are.
And that's going to be an entire Akira Kurosawa week. So be prepared for some longer films as well. These are not short films, nor are they in English. So, be ready for that. How about you, Brian? What did you think of A Most Violent Year?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's-
What's that?
Just 8?
Just 8. That's it. Thanks.
He's like, and I'm off.
No, it was good to see. Because I watched Scenes from a Marriage like when it first came out, which is I believe it was last year. I want to say. And the thing was too, like no one was like really talking about it, so it was like, but I think more and more people started to see it now, and so it was great to see them in like a different kind of dynamic, because they just really, and you've kind of seen it on the red carpet too. There's that whole thing going around when they were on the red carpet together, when it was like, whoa, what there's something saucy going on between them, but it really wasn't. They're just really close, really great friends. And so it's good to see them in something else where the dynamic was a little more. I mean, it's very tense in Scenes from a Marriage, but they're playing a husband and wife that are like going through like a divorce, and there's like, but they still like really love each other kind of thing. So there's all this other, just so much different mixed stuff. Where this one, there was like always just like something like it just like there was always some kind of conflict every time that they were going to be in a scene together. So it was just interesting to see.
The
them have
scenes
that
after that were always
dynamic.
interesting though, because it almost felt like they were fine again. So they would like
Right.
scream at
It's
each
like
other,
they just had to-
slap, and then
Yeah.
move over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
almost like
that bathroom scene was wild. Where she was
Yeah.
like cleaning his foot, and then she got pissed and just
yeah,
threw his foot down. And then they just started like, and then I guess he wanted to just not talk about this anymore, so he just started kissing her, being like, "It's
Mhm.
fine, it's fine, it's
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah, I think that was part of like he just wants to like
Mm-hmm.
continue moving on and trying to like
Yeah, let's start talking about it. Because every time he
Yeah.
said, "I'll take care of it," I was like, "But you haven't though."
yeah.
So
What does that mean? I love that.
What does
she
that
called
mean?
Yeah,
him
like
out.
Right, at
when she
this
like
point,
outright asked
yeah.
him, like, yeah, what is that? And I was like,
She's
oh,
like, "What does this mean?" At this
damn.
point, but when she came in with the gun, that was a good scene. I'm telling you, all their scenes together, that's why it's a 7. I probably would have gave it a 6, but their scenes together make it a 7 for me because like when she came in with the gun and was like, "Oh yeah, your daughter just had this and waving it in her face," so
Right. See, I
love
thought that was the gun she had, but apparently he took that.
I know,
gun
me
from
too.
her,
I was like,
so-
what is she doing with that? What's this little
Yeah,
baby
No, she had a
gun
little
brought?
pistol starter.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
had a
little tiny pistol.
Yeah, little starter.
It was
pistol.
nice though. It was like
Yeah.
pearl with gold inlay or something like that. It looked
They
like
had
I was
money.
like,
You could tell
I said,
driving a
"Okay,
Mercedes
girl."
with a pearl gripped weapon. Yeah.
But I felt bad for him because he was like, what would happen if
Right.
they caught you with this? Like everything I've tried to build is gone. Like he was just like, he was so pissed in that moment.
Yeah.
And I kind of understood why though, because it was
That's
like
another thing too. She had a gun like that and no cocaine.
very true. You're
They
right.
just
Brian.
didn't cover
I
it.
just
Much in the same way that this
You're right,
movie is basically a gangster flick, but without the gangsters.
Right.
Like it's
without the heavily like gangster.
It's
But
much
I
more
like
like
that,
a
though.
realistic version of what
Yeah.
gangsters would be like in
Yeah, I
New
like
York.
that though.
So
Yeah.
and see, I brought up a good point. She was like, she assumes this was taking place during a heavy crime time, which you are not wrong. This is New York City in the
Oh
1980s,
yeah, New York
which
around that
was
time. Yeah.
Prime
loaded. It's
time.
the idea that like the DA even brings it up. He's like, I have people dying all over the city, and you think I care
Yeah,
about your
and
trucks getting jacked? Like I
exactly.
don't care.
No, like for real. Like
The 80s were
so-
just like insane in New York
people are
City. Like,
dying every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about your
Right.
oil truck, sir.
Yeah.
Figure
I
it
almost
out.
thought it was during the Summer of Sam
Mm.
period, but that was in the 70s. I
This
believe.
was like 3 or 4 years later, so it was close. Like it
Yeah,
felt very
right.
aesthetically similar, but not quite.
What about you, Snitty? What would you rate most violent year?
I'm with Brian on this one. I think this is an 8. I think this is definitely a movie that shows acting chops kind of across the board. I love seeing Albert Brooks just kind of pop up in movies
Yeah.
and show that he does
I
have
know,
chops
yeah,
across
he's
the
like-
board.
He's always so good. Yeah. Just-
He's like,
his
I'm more
little
than a
roles.
clown. I can
Right.
act.
I'm more than a clownfish. The guy that plays the lead Jewish, not banker, but the guy that owns the property. Also, there was an air about him that really kind of, I don't know. I was like, I want to know more about this character. I want to know what he does every
Yeah.
single day.
I
because
love when he's like, I'll give you 3 days. I
3
was
days.
like,
And I'm like,
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
But when he
so
was
we
like-
had 33 total, so that's good.
Yeah, but he was like, I'll give you 3 days. I was like, I'll give you 3 days. And then he was like, thank you so much. I was like,
I know. I'm like,
he was
what you
kissing
gonna
his
do with 3
butt.
days, baby?
another week later.
Well, I mean, he managed to get
That's what I thought too. I was like,
He
all
did, though,
1.5
but
million.
still,
yeah.
though.
I was
You
like,
know.
okay.
But then she said it in the other scene when he told her that that he's getting the 3 days. She was like, well, at least you got 3 days. Like she, and I was just like, it made me think. I was like, well, he could have said nah.
Right.
So
Yeah. True.
3
It would've been
days,
0.
better than nothing.
way
Yeah.
better than nothing. So, Ashley Williams is in this movie, which I thought was really interesting because I swear she doesn't have much of a speaking role. And if you're a big
Evil
fan,
Dead? That's crazy. Oh, sorry.
good catch.
Thank you.
But no, this is Victoria from How I Met Your Mother, which
Mhm.
she's
no, I
the,
saw her.
she's
She
the
was-
assistant DA essentially.
Yeah, she's assistant DA. Yeah.
Oh.
and
yeah.
she had no
That's
speaking lines, but
familiar.
when I saw she was in this movie, I was like, I never
Yeah.
see her anything, but she's in this
I
as
saw her.
That's
as a
funny.
whisperer.
said
She
shout out
just
to her.
whispers like
Yeah.
DA the whole movie, and that's all she does. Which
Listen,
somebody
when
has
that's
to,
me-
I guess.
Right.
When that's me, I want every one of you guys to go see that movie.
No,
Be
we
like, you
will
guys are
absolutely.
whispering.
If you were the whisperer to the DA, I would watch that movie.
Whispering in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, no. See, now Lala can do the ASMR, and we
Now
can
I
all
do
just
the
do it.
ASMR, yeah.
Right.
I got a better microphone.
Anyway, so we're gonna actually just move right into the pre-review now, and then that way we can get back and talk about these other two movies. And yeah, we'll be right back.
The pre-review with BlindBiggie. The pre-review with BlindBiggie.
Hi, welcome to the pre-review. I'm your host, BlindBiggie. The pre-review is where I tell you about new releases coming to the movie theaters and beyond. This is for the week November 14th through 20th. First up, on November 15th is R.I.P.D. 2, Rise of the Damned. Recruited by the R.I.P.D., a resurrected sheriff returns to Earth to save humanity from a gateway to hell. Now, this movie stars Jeffrey Donovan of Burn Notice fame and Blair Witch 2, The Book of Shadows. R.I.P.D. 2, Rise of the Damned premieres on Netflix on November 15th. Moving to November 16th, we have The Wonder. This movie stars Florence Pugh. Set in the Irish Midlands in 1862, the story follows a young girl who stops eating but remains miraculously alive and well. It looks like this movie is going to give us a killer performance by Florence Pugh, which is not a surprise. The drama mystery The Wonder premieres on Netflix on November 16th. Next up is Poker Face. This action crime thriller stars Liam Hemsworth and Russell Crowe. A tech billionaire hosts a high-stakes poker game between friends, but the evening takes a turn when long-held secrets are revealed. An elaborate revenge plot unfolds, and thieves break in. I definitely think this is going to be a good one for Russell Crowe. Poker Face has limited release in theaters, November 16th. Next up, and let me add, I can't wait for this one. On November 17th is A Christmas Story, Christmas. And that's right, you get the original Peter Billingsley as Ralphie coming back, you have Zach Ward returning as Farkas, you have Julie Haggerty, you have Scott Schwartz as Flick, and R.D. Robb as Schwartz. Follows the now adult Ralphie as he returns to the house on Cleveland Street to give his kids a magical Christmas like the one he had as a child, reconnecting with childhood friends and reconciling the passing of his old man. Now, this movie looks like it's going to be an instant classic for me, and of course, if you grew up with the original Christmas Story, this is one for the heart. So, A Christmas Story Christmas airs on HBO Max on November 17th. Next on November 17th is A Christmas with You, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. and Amy Garcia. This comedy family romance follows a pop star who's got a career burnout and escapes to a small town where she finds not only inspiration, but a shot of love. And of course, anything with Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm usually down for. This one looks like it's going to be good and funny. Christmas with You premieres on Netflix on November 17th. Next up, and I might add, I've been waiting for this one as well, The Menu. Now, this movie is a horror comedy thriller, and it stars Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult. A young couple travels to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. Now, watching the trailer, it instantly drew me in. I cannot wait to see this movie. The Menu premieres in theaters November 18th. Next on the 18th is the movie She Said. This movie follows New York Times reporters Megan Towie and Jodie Cantor as they break one of the most important stories in a generation. A story that helped launch the #MeToo movement and shattered decades of silence around the subject of sexual assault in Hollywood. Now, this movie is based on a true story and stars some great actresses. You have Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan in this, so we're definitely going to have some great performances to look forward to. The drama She Said hits theaters on November 18th. Next up is Lamborghini, the man behind the legend. This biographical sport drama shares the life story of Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of Lamborghini. And of course, we all recognize Lamborghinis for their doors that open a certain direction, and the sheer look of their vehicles are quite an aesthetic. This movie stars Frank Grillo, Mira Sorvino, and Gabriel Byrne. Lamborghini, the man behind the legend, premieres in theaters in limited release November 18th. Next on November 18th is Blue's Big City Adventure. This comedy family musical premieres on Paramount Plus. Josh and Blue head to New York City to audition for a big Broadway musical. Now, this movie has B.D. Wong and Alex Winter, who you may know as Bill S. Preston Esquire, and Ali Stroker. And we also get to see not only Steve, but Josh and Joe. This looks like an epic adventure, and I know my daughter can't wait to see it. Blue's Big City Adventure premieres on Paramount Plus November 18th. Also on the 18th, we have Slumberland. This family adventure comedy is about a young girl who discovers a secret map to the dream world of Slumberland. And with the help of an eccentric outlaw, she traverses dreams and flees nightmares with the hope that she will be able to see her late father again. Now, of course, this movie stars Jason Momoa, and I think I am not the only one looking forward to this because he's got some cool horns on his head in this movie. And this looks like just a really fun ride. Slumberland premieres on Netflix November 18th. Now time for another one I've been waiting for. Big shock. Disenchanted. Amy Adams, Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, Maya Rudolph, and Yvette Nicole Brown all join the cast for Disenchanted 2 for Disney+. Years after her happily ever after, Giselle, Robert, and Morgan move to a new community, and Andalasia and the real world are thrown off balance. It's great to see the original cast returning with some new favorites, it looks like. This movie looks like it's going to be a magical good time. Disenchanted premieres on Disney Plus November 18th.
The People We Hate at the Wedding is coming to Amazon Prime Video. Family tensions ramp up among siblings in the week leading up to their half-sister's wedding in the country.
This movie stars Kristen Bell, Allison Janney, Cynthia Adair Robinson, and this is directed by Claire Scanton, who directed several episodes of The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So you know it's probably going to be worth a laugh. The People We Hate at the Wedding premieres on Amazon Prime Video November 18th. Next up, The Inspection, an A24 film. Rejected by his mother, a young gay man finds unexpected strength, camaraderie, and support after he joins the Marines. This movie stars Jeremy Pope, Raul Castillo, and Gabrielle Union. This looks like a hard-hitting drama that A24 is definitely known for. The Inspection premieres video on demand on November 18th. It's time for some drama romance with the movie There There. A series of hilarious romantic fateful encounters holds a mirror up to life in a distinctly twisted modern world. This movie stars Lenny James, Jason Schwartzman, and Lily Taylor. We're bound to see some great performances from them. There There has a limited release in movie theaters starting November 18th. All right, that's going to wrap up the pre-review for this week. Hope to see you out there.
And we are back from the pre-review. Thank you for the awesome pre-review, my man, Mr.
Thanks,
BlindBiggie. You do an awesome job at that, and it really helps me know what's coming out, so I appreciate that.
So many movies to look forward to.
So many movies this week. Yeah, a lot of good ones. The menu's coming out. We've got
Blue's Clues is on the top of that list for me.
Lala's so excited about Blue's Clues. We love it.
I was seeing the menu.
Nice. And we're going to look forward to your review on the menu. So we'll see what you say about that. But considering the cast alone.
Oh, and she said also, I'll be seeing that Friday, which is, all about the Harvey Weinstein stuff.
Right.
That New York Times article that came out. Yeah,
I'm interested in seeing that film. I'm not sure
I
how.
can't wait.
I'm kind of like, ugh. But I did watch that. What's that movie with the with Charlize Theron and
oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? You know that movie I'm talking about, right? I watched that movie.
So good.
Like I went to the theater and watched that movie, and I was like, that's not. I feel like this movie's gonna be too heavy for my brain.
What movie?
No, it's good.
What is it called? Newsweek or Newsroom or something? It's something.
No, that was the one about the Fox News.
Yeah, about the Fox News thing.
Okay, now I'm just gonna have to Google this,
Bombshell.
but I'll do it later.
Bombshell.
Oh, Bombshell.
That's
Okay,
right.
so that's what
Yeah,
that's
Bombshell.
about.
Nicole Kidman's in it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
Margot
Robbie's
Robbie.
in it.
Margot
Yeah.
Robbie, yeah.
That's been on my
And
list. I just
everybody,
haven't watched it yet.
And
I
I think
loved it.
Charlize is made up to look like one of the like Katie Couric or something like that. Like she's made up to look like somebody else.
No,
Okay.
Megyn
And
Kelly.
Megyn Kelly, there
Yeah.
you go. She's
Oh.
made up to
And
look
she
like somebody
talks. She
else.
sounds just like her.
Yeah, it was
Oh.
so good. It was so
It's
good.
insane.
Mhm.
Okay, well I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah, it
So
was
we're
so
gonna
good.
we're
I
gonna
think
move.
John Lithgow's in it too.
Well, if
Mhm.
he's in it, I'll watch anything Lithgow does.
Yeah,
That guy's like
yeah.
epic
Have
level
you seen Shrek?
actor.
Because he was amazing in Shrek. No, but he was
He
though.
was.
But
He
he
is
was
amazing
though.
in
He
Shrek.
was amazing at Shrek.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to an Alex Garland film from 2014, technically released in 2015. Ex Machina. This is another A24 film. This is written and directed by Alex Garland, starring Oscar Isaac, as well as, I'm going to mess her name up, Alicia Vikander, I believe is how you would say it, and then Domhnall Gleeson.
His name's hard to pronounce too.
Domhnall, I think is how you would say that.
Yeah.
That's my best guess.
Just Domhnall.
One of the
Domhnall
Gleesons.
Gleeson.
And then really, there's only a couple people in this movie. I'm actually
that's it.
surprised.
Yeah,
Those are the
Yeah.
three main actors, and then of course you do
Yeah.
have Sonia Mizuno, who
Yeah.
plays Kyoko.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go straight to
She
Brian.
didn't speak a word.
She
She
didn't.
didn't
Yeah,
speak
she's,
a word.
She
she's
didn't.
like a sentence. In it or something. Yeah.
We're gonna go
But-
straight to Brian
okay.
and ask: was this your first Ex Machina viewing? Second,
No,
fifth?
this is like my third, I believe. So I've seen.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. I love this film. Just like everything about it. You know, it's like small in scope, but it does tell this bigger story too. You know, it's like, yeah, there's just so much to it. It's so good. Such a manipulative,
Ooh, yeah.
you know, damn.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac does great in this, you know, playing that, like, again, it's like a guy who's not fully good, but not fully bad. It's like, yeah, it's this weird thing. You know, he's definitely like the antagonist, I would say. But you don't like fully know it too. It's like, man, yeah, so good. Yeah, and I mean, it just like the effects too, and the CG is like, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's like I still, if I'm like trying to figure it out, a lot of times I'll like think about a movie and I'll watch it and be like, oh, I can kind of figure out how they did that. But if I'm like, man, I have no clue how they did this, then that's, you know, I think that's like phenomenal that they're able to do it. You know, it's like, is that a suit? Is it partial suit? Is it like all green suit? Like
screen,
what is
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like, is it a motion capture suit? Like, man, like, yeah.
Well, I
Is it
imagine
just
like
like-
the Sean Gunn suit that he wears for the Guardians of the Galaxy, where he even has
Yeah.
like the little like.
But also, I
hood.
feel like
Yeah,
there
their
there
face,
has to be
that's it.
added stuff to it for like the
Right.
peeling to look right, because
Oh,
that had to
Man,
be like
yeah,
maybe
that's
like a block of green screen or whatever, and you just peel it off your like so they can make it.
right.
It was
But it's
amazing.
almost, yeah, and
It
it's
was
almost like,
amazing.
yeah, it almost looked like it was practical. Like when
Mhm.
she's like putting the skin back on
Yeah,
her
back on
too.
her.
Like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
peeling it off Kyoko, like it just
Yeah,
like the
just
way
like
the
it looked
seam
like-
happened. Like,
actually, like you could. Yeah, just
that
like-
wasn't Kyoko. Kyoko was on the floor.
Yeah, it was
no,
the
no, because
one- yeah, it
Kyoko
was some
peels it back
old-
to show him.
Oh yeah, she did.
Oh, you
Yeah,
meant
yeah,
that? I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, because Brian was talking about when she was putting it on.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah,
but
when
they had a
Alicia-
similar
Yeah, okay.
feel, a similar look. but-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
So I love this movie. I can watch this one over and over again.
Fair enough. Lau, was this your first time watching Ex Machina?
First time.
Nice. Okay, what
Ooh,
did you think?
Nice.
Yes. I thought it was very weird, but in a good way, because it starts silent and abruptly. And so it already removes you from the film, but makes you want to be in it more, right? Which is very rare for a movie to be able to do that. And the moment it happened, I was like, you ain't win this. You was selected. I was like, I just knew he was selected. I knew, but I just didn't know why. And then as the movie went on, I was like, oh, it's because he's smart. And then you kind of figure out, nah, that ain't it. But I
Right.
knew
You could just be manipulated.
right. I knew he didn't. That was the one thing I was certain about. That's the only thing I was certain about in this movie, was that he was not, he was pre-selected. I just didn't know why.
Yeah.
And they pretty much told me at the end why he was pre-selected. But I knew that much. Other than that,
Yeah.
this film took me by surprise. I can understand why it was nominated for Academy Award, and I think it won Best like Visual Artist or something like that at the Academy Awards, something like that. I can tell why. I can see why.
Best
I
skin
missed
removal
this.
is what it was.
Yeah, that's what it's. Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Best skin removal, right? But that's why I missed this film. Like I knew it existed when I looked at the poster. If you show me a poster for a movie, I'm like, oh, I remember that. I just didn't watch it. Like I just like that's me a lot of the times. And I remember this, and I was like, oh, so this is why Alicia Vikander became such a big thing, and I just didn't understand where this girl came from. I
Right.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
where?
yeah.
I was
That's
like,
funny.
why is she doing
She
things
just
all of
came
a sudden?
out
I
of
was like,
nowhere. Yeah, like,
who is this person? And then I watched this film and was like,
yeah.
oh, I get it. Like
Mhm.
she really stood out to me in this film. And it's one of those things where it's like when you do AI films, they all
Mhm.
hit a trope in a certain way. They all kind of like bleed the same. And this one was like a thriller AI film, which you don't really, it's like the film will start off nice and then like maybe it'll turn into something darker. But this one was like a thriller. Like even the beginning was like, even though it was a happy occasion, something was off about it because of the music, right?
Mhm.
Because of like the silence, because you didn't hear them say anything in the beginning. You just heard the music and then you saw the excitement, but they didn't mesh. And I was like, something off, something not right with this. It's not right. But I was fully engrossed in this film. I was literally sitting here eating my Olive Garden, totally engrossed in this film. Because I was like, what's gonna happen next? And then when because it's a scene, it's a part, spoiler alert, it's a part where he doesn't know if he's real at this point.
Oh man, God,
And
yeah. Like,
and he
it gets me
slices
every
his
time.
he slices his
God,
arm to see if he's real.
Yeah,
And I
He
was
even looks
like,
inside.
digging
He's
around
like
in there,
he even
looking
looks
in there.
inside. He's like, but
God.
even
Like, do you
to
not
me,
feel the pain? Like,
no, because
you're
he's
real,
so out of
man.
it.
Like,
He's so out of it.
man.
Because to me, it's like I felt like I would be a person in that situation, like because of what he's seen. He's seen all these women that look like women that look they also Oscar Isaac was just gross in this film. Like he was attractive as all get out. Had to say it. Sorry, I had to let me sit in that for a moment. Hold up. All right, I was in it. He's so handsome. He could cut his hair handsome. He could have curly locks handsome. He could slick it back handsome. The bro could do no wrong when it comes to the hair. And
his
then
hair
he was
had many
many
iterations of Oscar Isaac
of
hair
his
in these
many
three films,
evolutions
yeah.
of his hair in this, and it was just so great. And then every now and again he was just like lifting weights and stuff. But I knew something was wrong with him when he was punching the bag, and then he was in the kitchen getting something to drink, and his knuckles were bloody. I was like,
right.
why are you doing
You're
that
just
that
wearing
hard?
gloves.
Like
Like,
what's
yeah,
you were
yeah.
just wearing gloves. Like that shouldn't even happen. So you're
Mhm.
punching through this. Like something's wrong with you. And then we find out that obviously something's wrong with him. But this one took me by surprise. I didn't really know what I was getting into because even the poster doesn't really allude to anything. It lets you know that
Yeah.
there's a robot. You know, it lets you know that there's or a robot-esque thing. You don't know what you're going to get into, but just the mechanics of it all, was super duper interesting. Like what Brian was talking about with pulling off the skin and pulling off like the stomach. Even when he hit her in the jaw and her jaw fell off, or
man, yeah.
They were
you know what I mean?
fragile.
Like it was. They're very.
Yeah.
They're not durable at all, and a part of me feels like he did that on purpose, so that he could incapacitate them if he needed to. Because you always in these movies you always see when they make a robot, it's like durability. You gotta make them durable, but then when they
Yeah.
turn on you, you ain't as durable as
Right.
what you just created. So he's able to incapacitate them in like easy ways. His character was like very swarmy, narcissistic, a drunk, just a gaslighter.
Oh,
from
he
all
loved being called
angles.
God. He loved that. Like he ate that up.
Listen, the dude, he barely called him a guy, and I love he kept trying to tell him like that ain't what I said. He was like, oh yeah, that's what we talk about with it. But it kind of like
When I
was like,
write my
"That's not- I didn't-
memoir, you know, yeah.
I didn't call you a god, but like the ending threw me off because I wrote a thing on Letterboxd and I was like, this movie was interesting because is this what she was planning all along? Did he program her to be manipulative? Did she actually like him, or she just used him to get out? But then why would you put this person who helped you get out to have the same fate that you had? Like that's so messed up. That was so messed up to me. Like he wasn't a bad kid. He came into this
I
just as
know.
confused as
Yeah.
you, like as you were. You had more knowledge than he had, but he came in confused, being used,
Mhm.
and you left him there
To die.
Yeah.
and because he's stupid, he shut down the system by putting his own key card into the thing. So like he couldn't even get out through another room if possible, or reprogram the thing because he messed it up himself. So he's literally going to like die in that place because nobody even touches that place. Like the helicopter doesn't even land close to the house because he's not supposed to. So nobody will
Yeah,
find
there's
it
no way to.
weird that this
Mhm.
dude hasn't reached out to anybody or talked to anybody. It's just gonna be some rotten
He doesn't have
corpses in there.
anybody.
He doesn't. No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like the office won't worry about it. And I'm talking about Oscar Isaac's character. Nobody's gonna worry about his character either
Yeah,
because
Not
nobody's
for a
gonna
used
check
to
while.
on him.
him. They're used to him
Yeah.
being like a recluse and like
Mhm.
not talking to anybody for years, probably. So
Yeah.
that is a fate. Just kill me. Just kill me, girl. You could have just killed me.
Well, Blind
Right.
Biggie just
Dang.
made a good point in the comments. He said to keep the secret. So, she does. She leaves him there so that she can go wander the world and be whatever she wants without having
But
to
he
have somebody
wanted to
tell
be
her
with her
secret.
too. He wanted to
Yeah,
protect
that's
her
not what
too,
she wanted,
though.
though. She definitely didn't
No.
want that.
No.
She just wanted to be away, and I think
Mhm.
she
She gonna-
equated
she gonna
him to being the
manipulate
same thing
everybody.
as Oscar Isaac's character.
In a
Honestly,
way.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
Nathan
he's
and
human,
Caleb
so-
were both human, and to her, humans were
Mhm.
despicable.
Yeah.
I think the way
But
this
I do
movie,
like that. No, I'm sorry. I just want to say this one last thing. I do like that Caleb got a one up on Nathan in the end.
Mhm.
He was like, "Yeah, I
Right.
figured you was gonna do it," because like I think Nathan is used to being the smartest person in the room. Very like now you see
Mhm.
me. Like you're
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're used to being the smartest person in the room. So like nobody can one up you. You play chess 5 steps ahead. It seems like Caleb was playing the 10 because he was just like, "Yeah, I had a feeling you was gonna do that, so I already did it when I got you drunk the other night." He was just like, "What? What you say?
Yeah.
What you mean?" I
Mhm.
love that because it was like you had me for a minute, but now I got you. But then y'all both got. So it's just it's a thing.
That's
Yeah.
what
What
I
did
love
you think
about
of
it.
Ex Machina?
So this is like my 4th time watching this movie. I actually even, it's over here. I have the screenplay from A24 right there because I really do love this film, and
Nerd.
that's true. But it is a unique film in that it does explore some of those larger philosophical questions about the Turing test and about AI and what would happen, but in a way that's very human. And I do love that the whole time that we're watching Ava's character, and we're like, it's obvious she's a robot. You can see through her head and her arms and her legs and whatnot. That there's other robots walking around the house that you cannot tell that they're not human. So those are obviously passing the Turing test all day, every day with Caleb, and he doesn't even realize it.
I had an inkling Kyoko was a robot because I think when she was cooking food or something like that, he said something and she turned her head in a certain way, and I was like, "Do she know English or is she a robot?" I wasn't quite sure.
You could tell
So,
she
yeah.
definitely understood what they were saying, especially like when she was sleeping, she would open her eyes. But yeah, the Oscar Isaac character obviously was having parties with all of his robots regularly. And it makes me wonder why some of them are missing pieces in the closets. I'm wondering what he did with them.
Yeah.
And I know that he
You
obviously
can only imagine,
right,
just with the video feed,
right,
that we see.
But I imagine he obviously peeled all those pieces off of Ava intentionally so that she wouldn't appear human, because that was kind of the point. She was, he was trying to draw Caleb in and have him realize that she wasn't human. But there is I love the paranoia in this film. There's moments of, wait, is this real? Is this not? Is the whole thing even
you don't
real?
know.
Like you don't
you
even
don't
know
know
if it's a
who
dream.
to trust either, or what to trust. Yeah.
Right.
You don't know if
we
she's
were
manipulating.
Caleb. We were Caleb, so I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, I'd have sliced my arm too, man. That was be on some T1000 type thing. Like, am I real? Am I like? I would have probably did the same thing, because at this point, I don't know. Because when he watched the videos, they're so lifelike. They're so lifelike. The skin is so lifelike, and then like I love that we saw like it filled itself in. Like she had like all these circles and straight edges from putting on the skin, and then it just fills
Yeah,
itself
and like
in.
it's like the seams like went
Yeah,
away.
like the
Like
seams went away.
yeah.
I like love that part. But I will say this though,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Alicia Vikander, beautiful woman. The Asian woman that was in the thing, beautiful woman.
In the
But they
closet. Yeah.
in the closet, beautiful. They skin types ain't the same. But
I was gonna say that, and I hate to say it, but
Right.
I immediately was like, the nipples.
I was like, no.
The nipples are a completely different color now. That's really odd.
Yeah, I was like, and then her hair too. Where you get that hair from, baby? We ain't see.
Right, and that lady
no
still had her
on.
hair, right? So that
Right.
was
So I
weird.
was like, but I was like, you know what? We're towards the end. I'm not going to nitpick, even
Right.
though
Hit
it's a
hit
huge
the I
one.
believe button. And
If she
I'm
had
like,
just
you know,
closed one
boom.
more closet, I would have bought it all because it would have been
Right.
she pulled from
No,
another
yeah.
robot that we
Mhm.
didn't see, and then we
Yeah.
could have just assumed.
Because
But
my thing is, you could have got somebody that had at least Alicia's skin tone,
right,
because they didn't have the same skin tone at all. And I was just like, but it was creepy to me because when she closed the closet, the Asian lady was like, she was smiling at her. I was like, that's creepy. And she just closed the door and I'm like, ew.
so this begs the question, because obviously Kyoko didn't do anything to go against Nathan the entire time, but as soon as Ava spoke, kind of almost like robot whispered to her, literally, but like in that sense of like a whisperer, it seemed like she was saying something that like unlocked her for a moment, or just let her be free, and it was weird. It was almost like she was telling her something that, because we don't get to hear it, right? It's silent. We don't get to actually hear what she's telling her. Obviously, it's help me kill this guy, but
right. Well, Ava's. I would assume that Ava is the most advanced out of all of them, and we see that she can shut down the entire system. It would be suffice to say that she could probably reprogram the other.
But did she do it with
robots.
words? Did she say
I
something
felt
that
like
kind of
I felt like
reprogrammed her in that moment?
But also remember, she touched her too. Like she grazed her. She kind of touched her too.
True.
And remember, she was touching all these things to turn off the power and to do these things. And it's possible that she could interface with it too, because it was times where she was just sitting down. But I remember it was one time she was sitting down and she had her hand on the pad that was next to her when the power like shut down. So and so it's in. I think it's in the touch. And then once she kind of like maybe shut down those defenses, she kind of was able to change.
So she did a hard
way.
boot on Kyoko and then reprogrammed her with words to tell her to go kill him. I think that works.
I would think so.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this movie, that house, I would never want to go to that house. I would never want to be in that house. I would feel too claustrophobic, too weird.
No.
It's
kind of like the Parasite house. No gracias.
It is in a sense, but
Yeah,
it's just
totally.
too much.
Just like straight angles, nothing really round. just
Sharp
like,
edges.
Yep.
Everything was, I'll be afraid to hit a corner, man. Like,
Yeah.
no.
That's true.
I did like how this movie just like doesn't waste any time. It just gets right into
It started.
Like,
It started immediately. Yeah.
yeah, like they do a little bit of this, like, okay, I mean, like, what is it, like 5-10 minutes in the beginning that we see just like him working, and then he gets his like this notification, and like then we're off,
Yeah.
to
And you knew something was off when he was like, "So will we be around the estate for me?" He was like, "We've been going over his estate for 2 hours." He was like,
yeah,
"Wait a second." And then when they land, and he was like, he was like, "Oh, I can't land closer. You just gotta walk through the woods. So follow the river."
follow the river.
I said, "Is this Legend of Zelda? What am I following rivers for? What are we doing?"
Yeah.
But it lended an air of like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah,
Like a little bit of mystery.
this is
Like,
already
what is
not
this?
normal. Like,
Right.
And then the AI was in the thing like, "Hello, Caleb,"
yeah,
and took his picture, had a key card. I was like, wait a minute.
yeah, I love the picture too. Like,
picture was just like,
yeah.
This movie was very interesting. And honestly, Oscar Isaac was kind of like a side piece of this film. It was very much Alicia and Domino, and he was just kind of like the antagonist from the shadows, even though she essentially is the antagonist. Like they kind of both are, but because I felt bad for her, but I felt worse for Caleb because he didn't.
Do you
ask
feel
for
bad
this.
for Nathan at all?
No, because he's creating synthetic women as sex slaves, and then he disrespects them. he creates them to be sentient, but then doesn't listen to them when they're like, I want to go out. His life would have been way better if he gave them some autonomy outside of their rooms. He set up his own failure. He set up his own death, essentially. Because she asked him, if I go back to my room, will you let me out? Like, will I be able to go out? And he was like, yes. And when he said that, I was like, lie. I just became her for a second.
The line that she says, where she says, how does it feel to be somebody that creates something that hates you? I really like that line a lot.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit, she's got it out for him. And that's when that's the moment when I realized Caleb is a pawn. She does not give two shits about him. She hates
the real question,
Nathan and wants out.
So the real question is, even though he was selected, like, he was selected because of who he is, and nobody would miss him, and whoop-de-whoop. Question is, did Nathan select her, or did Ava select him?
So it's technically both, because Ava is running off of that search engine concept. That's where her whole concept comes from, and the AI is built. Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the grossest moments was he's like, did you make Ava from my porn profile?
Yeah,
and it's
right.
obvious that he did. Right, exactly. She looks just like all the girls he looked up.
But you just saw the wheels turning in his head that entire time. He was just like thinking, like he figured it out in those moments, like what it was. Poor guy.
I mean, I feel bad for Caleb, but at the same time, I don't.
I feel bad for Caleb. He didn't ask for this.
He did.
He didn't ask for this.
He did.
He didn't. He didn't though. He went in with the intentions. He went in with the intentions of being like, I'm about to meet the guy of the guy that runs my company. This is a huge to see what he's working on next. Oh my
God! The whole company knew about
right.
This
the whole company knew about this. Right.
So it was like a big thing. Even though he was chosen, he didn't know he was chosen until later on. So I think, I don't know. Like I feel bad for.
I feel bad for Caleb. He didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, he didn't have any like ulterior motive. He didn't know that he was going to be like doing this.
He risked his job to set a robot free. He could have easily been like, nah, baby girl, you can stay in this room.
I'm about to kill this CEO and founder of this company.
All right, I'm about to get him blind drunk.
Via
so I can get you out of here.
Yeah.
And she left him.
Yeah.
She left him. And I felt like that's so messed up, because he could have been a Nathan and been like, but you're a robot, so we got to keep you in here to test you more. And he wasn't. He looked at her like she was a human and was like, you deserve, because what was the line she said to him? Because she was like, well, do you have anybody that like will turn you off, will switch you off if you don't do what they say, however it is? And he was like, so why should, so she's like, so what's the difference with me? Why should I? And I was like, well, dang it. Because I was trying to figure it out in my head. I was like, well, he created you. But then I'm like, but my mama created me and she can't tell me.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, she makes an excellent point. And he knew it. I feel bad for him. He didn't deserve this.
Yeah. I agree with Kristen, who just jumped into the chat here.
Right. But both can still be true.
Both can still be true.
Feel bad for him and understand
why she left him.
Like,
I
do
totally understand why she left him, but I feel bad for Kid. Like,
exactly. Like
he's about to die a gruesome, horrible, depleted death.
I mean, he's got plenty of resources for a little while. I mean, Nathan's bedroom didn't have nothing in it. He had a small fridge with water, so he at least could stay hydrated for some amount of time. The other thing is he was also in the room with all the computers, so while she might have reprogrammed everything, he is also a coder. He could still try. We don't know if he actually dies. He could technically get out still, technically. Right. Because he already reprogrammed everything.
But hopefully he can reprogram the system, because the system shut down on him when he put his key card in there. So hopefully he can get back.
Well, the thing was, they mentioned too earlier that it's like however many bit system, right? Like, and how long it took him to like reprogram that system. So we kind of know like a timetable of how long it could possibly take.
Yeah, it could take him months. Honestly, it could probably take him months.
It could take him forever. Yeah,
he better ration that beer, boy. I'll tell you that much. You better.
That was all upstairs. So all the liquor and all that was upstairs. It was only because everything that Ava's cell and all of their rooms were in the basement, and they had to take that elevator to get up and down. Everything else was upstairs. So it's, I don't know. He's not only locked in that building, but he's locked in the basement of that building behind soundproof everything. So even if somebody came by, they wouldn't hear him and wouldn't have access unless they had, jaws of life or whatever to get him out. I think that from Ava's perspective, and the reason that I don't necessarily feel all that bad for Caleb is that from her perspective, human beings are the problem. And Caleb was one of those. And his want to help her is fine, but that's not the way she viewed him. And I know that you said this was kind of like we were watching this movie from Caleb's perspective, but this is not Caleb's movie. This is Ava's movie. And it is about her becoming human in a sense, rather than
no, I don't think we were watching it from his perspective. I felt like the way the movie abruptly started, we were him.
Right. We
were like, oh wait, what? What did he win? Where is he going? Like, I felt like that's what it was. I honestly felt like this was his perspective and Ava's perspective.
Like it shifted to hers.
It flipped,
right?
It flipped from time to time. It'll be his view, then it'll flip to be her view. I think we'll go back and forth in that sense, but.
So
I don't know.
So I guess while I could say that I understand and feel bad for the human that is in the situation, I'm so kind of drawn to the Ava character and why she decides to do what she does that she ultimately would do that to anyone. Like he was a pawn. He was literally just a tool for her to get out.
But I also feel like she kind of failed the test in a sense because she's equating that all humans are the same, and Caleb proved that they're not. Right. He has essentially the same intelligence as Nathan, but did the best thing for her as opposed to what Nathan did for her. So I felt like in a way she failed. And I feel like she's in this world to create chaos now. Like she's going to be like a robotic Matahari.
All humans are like,
she's
that way.
She's going to get them.
I mean, is she gonna to
do what she needs them to do? She's a master gaslighter now.
Is she gonna get rid?
And if she's,
is she gonna get rid of this helicopter pilot as soon as she's safe? Like, okay, you're dead now.
And if she's connected to the search engine like that, that means she can find information on anybody and use it against them to her advantage. He created a villain. At the end of this film, he created a villain.
But I mean, that's what I like about movies like this. The ending is so ambiguous. We don't know what she's going to do next. We don't know if she's going to. Nolan. She could take over the world, or she could just live a normal life and just get married.
But how can she live a normal life when she has no credentials? Nobody knows who she is.
She's connected to the internet. She could fake them.
Unless she could just create them, I guess.
Yeah, I think she could. She can switch arms. The problem is that she left all that extra gear behind. She could have taken.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking
arms
that
too.
Right. I was thinking that too. I was like, if she gets hurt once,
she needs some maintenance.
It's game over.
Well, if somebody ever hits her arm or a dog bites her, like that arm is screwed.
Yeah.
Like,
where do you get new skin? Yeah.
Aina said, "Do you think Ava is self-aware?"
100%.
I don't know. Can you be self-aware and still hooked up to the internet?
True.
What?
Because that's where you're getting your knowledge from. That's where you're getting your stuff from.
Right?
I don't know. I think that she knew exactly what her plan was from the beginning, and to me, that's self-awareness. She also knew how to manipulate a human by faking. So the whole they gave the scenario: is she real? Is she not? And then Nathan goes, "But what about the third scenario where she's actually faking to like you, and isn't actually any of those things, but faking it?" That to me proved that she was going to pass the Turing test and
but is it though because my thing is then essentially you have to program a robot. You have to program a robot to be sentient. So is that something in her programming that he set up for her, or is that something that she developed herself? And I feel like that's a thought in this film. Is she manipulative? Is she manipulative because that's essentially how she became so sentient, so self-aware that she became this, or did she learn this from Nathan? Because that's literally one of his personality traits.
I would imagine she learned it from him, much like a child would. Like he even says, "I'm her dad," which that gets real gross real fast because he's the father of all these robots, and yet
he's got
he was
God
banging
complex.
one
He's got this
and
daddy
dancing
issue.
with one. I told Aina I was gonna learn that dance and put it on TikTok.
That to me, the first time I saw the film was the first time I thought Kyoko was a robot, because she fell in line with him so perfectly. Sequence, and it was so robotic of her. And both the actresses, Alicia and Sonoya both did a fantastic job of having those like slight ticks and like slow methodical movement.
But because he said she didn't understand English, you didn't really think about her not being a robot because you just assumed that she was just like, okay, all right, like kind of like just nodding and okay with everything. And then you just kind of find out, like, again, but she had like little, there were like little moments where she would just like move her face in a certain way, and I was just like, okay, I think I don't know.
This film might have been a film that we could have done. We could have done this film as the one film for 2 hours, because getting into
a lot of
things
philosophical stuff.
The nature versus nurture is something that was brought up in the film and completely related to the characters as well. There's a lot of layers here that, while we were able to talk about the plot very quickly because it's you know, it's not overly
I will
complex.
say this though, Oscar Isaac is a brilliant dancer. The way he was moving, I was just like, I was in it with him. I was like, he looks good, man. I was like, oof, okay, all right, Isaac.
So you like the bald with the beard? Like that's
beautiful. That's such a good look.
Brian's like,
good look.
I
feel like Sniddy's like,
bald beard, you know.
Honestly,
but his beard is like, holy shit.
Yeah, he's got a good.
But I like a good bald head. I like a good beard. I feel like it's an aesthetic. It's a look. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think everybody can't rock it.
Obadiah Stane for my Iron Man. Like, holy shit.
Listen here, Jeff Bridges was looking fine. You understand me?
Yeah,
agreed.
He was looking good. It's looking good. That's a good look. Only it's a good look on a person that can pull it off.
Right. Otherwise, it looks goony.
If you can't pull it off, you're like, all right, I hope you like it.
Right.
That's all that matters. Is you like it.
Right. I'm with you. So this movie actually did really well ultimately and made more money than you might expect. It didn't have a great opening, but again, it's an independent film. You know, I guess Universal, technically not independent, but $15 million budget, but it made $10 million. So I guess maybe it might have broke even.
No, they said that it was a budget of 15, and didn't it globally make like 36 million?
Globally, yes, good point. 37 million. So it did make like 10 million or more total after marketing and all that good stuff. So and this could have been one of the many reasons why A24 kept making movies as well, I would imagine, to some degree.
But also A24 is very smart because, like, as they keep going, I guess like the budget for their films get a little bit higher, but they still say it at a nice like points of their budget. Their budgets aren't like billions, 200
I don't
million.
think they'd ever do that.
Like, it's very, but I wouldn't either because they make very quality films. Like,
it's also
with that going that
it's
way.
important to note too that like they are like a distributor as well, so they don't necessarily have anything to do with that with all of their films. A lot of times they're just purchasing the film and then distributing it.
Now this one specifically, I think is them, and Universal was the distributor in this case.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in those cases, especially when it's like Universal attached to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is smart of them to, like, you know, hey, pair with us. Let's get this to a bigger audience.
Well, that's the way Card Counter kind of was, because Focus Features is attached to it, but it's a Universal distributed film.
Right.
You know,
well, and Comcast owns Focus Features now, so there's a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
You know,
like,
they're
I never understand that too. Like, I've seen so many Sony movies that have like multiple Sony companies. I'm like, just why isn't it just under the larger Sony umbrella? Like, why are you differentiating?
I guess it's wherever they decide to put the film as, as an LLC, from, you know, like where it comes from.
Yeah. And what people from those companies are working on the film.
Right. It might end up who's the producer, who's the casting director. It might all be something to do with that. So why don't we rate this film? We do have one more film to cover, and I think about a half an hour should do it for that film. Why don't we go with Brian first? Ex Machina. What do you rate Ex Machina?
It's a 9.
9. All right.
9. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, it has so much to lend to conversation, which is what a really great movie should be doing. You know, just a lot of philosophical concepts and ideas in there to discuss. I love these kind of films too that are like kind of like really just one location. You got 3 or 4 actors, like nothing too complicated as far as plot. You know, it's the classic like man versus machine, or like man versus, or like science versus nature too, like all these kind of things, you know, like that we've seen for hundreds of years, you know, and just a couple little twists, and it's great.
Well, there's a Frankenstein element to this, in the sense that it's, he's created a monster. And
oh, for sure.
It's,
He created something more deadlier than Frankenstein's monster. He created a woman that could use everything to her advantage to get whatever she wants. Like
this is why I believe she has credentials and she's running a company right now. It's been 7 years. So
or maybe she took over his company.
Yeah. Or maybe she just became a housewife because she just wanted to live a normal human life. That's also possible.
Hell hath no fury like a robot woman scorn.
Right?
Facts.
Lala, what would you rate Ex Machina?
Ex Machina, I'll give it 8.5. I'll give it 8.5. I think it was really good, man. I would watch this again. I was thoroughly engrossed. I don't really see anything wrong with it. I just don't never, there could still be more elements that could push it to a 9, but like this was a solid 8.5 for me. So yeah.
One thing I did note, because I just joked about Caleb needing to tap into that Hogwarts magic. I didn't realize that he was also the lead guy from the new Star Wars movies. My brain did not put those two together. And watching this and then watching that, I'm like, man, he is a good actor. Like he really can do some range. And has a kind of a lightness about him. In this, he's very innocent. In that, he's just stern and kind of an ass.
And it's crazy because his daddy was in those movies with him. Even though they barely had they had like one scene in the same room together, like that.
What? Really?
In Harry Potter, you mean?
Yeah, in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay, okay.
In Harry Potter,
in Harry Potter. Oh, I'm sorry, Snitty.
No, I was like, wait, Star Wars? What? Gleason? I'm confused.
No, sorry.
So for myself, this is it's a 10. Anything with deep sci-fi will always get my attention. That's one of the reasons I suggested this movie, is because it's high up on my list. But this is I've been was telling them in the break that I watched Alita Battle Angel, and while the movie has its issues, it's still pure sci-fi, and for me that will get me on board no matter what. So adding the philosophical nature, adding Oscar Isaac, adding the layers and the acting and the great the cinematography of this movie, although simple, is really effective, especially with all the glass everywhere and all the like different shots of the house from these different angles. I think really works. It's a 10. If you like any of the actors, or you like even just sci-fi, you got to check this movie out, no doubt. So we're gonna move on to the last movie of the evening, which is The Card Counter. This is one that BlindBiggie actually suggested for us. This is another Oscar Isaac film, as you know, all Oscar Isaac this evening. This is a 2021 film, I believe, so this is very new.
Yeah.
And it stars Oscar Isaac, as we just said, but it also has Tiffany Haddish, Ty Sheridan, and Willem Dafoe, who we all, of course, I think love. So Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe.
I know that Brian had already seen this movie, so this was either your second viewing or you just watched it recently.
Second.
So yeah. I had never seen this. Lala, have you ever seen this one? No. Okay. So we got this one for the first time.
But Snitty, since I went first and Brian went first, you go first this time. And tell
I
us,
definitely will.
What did you think?
What's interesting? I appreciate that. What's really interesting to me is I just watched also Molly's Game, which is an Aaron Sorkin film starring Jessica Chastain, and it's all about poker. So then I turned around the next night and turned on this movie, and I'm like, oh, this movie's about poker. I mean, Card Counter should have told me that, but when he started playing blackjack in the beginning of the film, I was like, oh, it's a blackjack movie. Oh no, wait, it's actually a poker movie. It's cards in general. And
it's actually something totally
different. Totally different.
It's just a gambling movie. It's just a gambling movie.
Part of it. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of like Rounders, and I really did enjoy Molly's Game, and any movie that's got some amount of poker in it, usually, if it's done well, is good. They're usually fun. Because I do enjoy poker just for fun. But I did not expect this movie to take some of the turns it took. And I thought it was interesting that the film was about the poker player more than the poker game in this case. So like Rounders and even Molly's Game were much more grounded in how the poker itself was going and how to learn poker or play poker. Yeah. While this didn't care if you knew how to play poker. It didn't care if you didn't know anything about it. It was much more of a character study of William Tell. or Tillich, I guess was his real name.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they started talking about his past, and it could tell he was a military man, I definitely think that it was obvious to me that they were talking about Abu Ghraib, and there was definitely a message about torture and about the way the military conducts itself when it comes to torture, which is really weird from a movie about cards. It was a weird blend of being a bad person and being, going through the rigmarole of dealing with being a bad person, but also, why not poker? We'll just throw poker in there. So I could see why you were jarred by it, Brian. I think, it's not.
Oh, no. So it wasn't.
These things
I'll get into like my whole
for sure
thing about it.
But I don't know if they
really
meshed
because of that
as well as it could have. And I think Ty Sheridan, he's good. I'm not sure why they kind of stuck on this Kirk with a C thing, but anyway. They really got,
that whole thing. It's like, we get it. It's with a C, kid.
Right. You don't have to keep saying it. Right. And I'm like that he just called him kid after that.
But it doesn't matter because it's still pronounced Kirk. Like, get out of my face.
It doesn't matter. So I think
no one's writing it down. Like,
right?
You feel me? Like, no, stop.
There was a moment when William and Lalinda go to the Lights Festival that I liked that sequence quite a bit. I really liked the way that it felt dreamlike, almost like he was escaping everything he had ever dealt with and got to be with somebody he'd always wanted to be with. And even the audio is really weird because they're there outside, but you can tell that what they're doing sounds like it's coming straight out of a studio rather than them being outside. So the way they mixed the sound for that scene was really bizarre, but it gave a kind of a dreamlike quality that I really liked. But nothing other than maybe that, or maybe the scenes with William and Kirk. Kirk.
With the C. Don't
or
forget.
even I guess the last scene with Gordo were really compelling and got me interested. So it took like way far into the movie before I got interested, basically. But I do think this is the way an ending should happen on a movie. I liked the way this movie ended a lot, actually. I was going to be angry I was like, end the movie, end it right now, end this movie. If you change scenes off of this, I'm going to be pissed and I'm going to hate this movie. But that's not the way it played out. So I digress. I never go first, and now I'm just going off. So
I love it, though. We need this more often.
We'll go to Brian then, I guess, after this, and see what Brian thought of the card counter.
So this is my second time seeing it, and so the first time I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's rough. But after watching the second time, it's still the same.
Oh yes, come on, Brian, come through with the truth. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, damn it, I gotta watch this thing again. I know some people love this movie, but I'm just like, oh, Paul Schrader, he has this whole like, he's a legendary screenwriter. I think he should stay a screenwriter. I'm sorry, but he has this whole like slow cinema thing. I think he's the one that coined the term too. And I think it works for some things, but like maybe not a whole film. And because like that's why you see certain things where like the him going to the hotel for the first time, for instance, we like the camera pans and just holds on the hotel like door entrance there, and we don't see anything, and you're like, what? Like, so normally, you'd see a cut of him like maybe pulling stuff out of the car, then we cut back to him walking to the door. So his whole thing is like very little camera movement. We like do a lot longer takes, maybe not like long in the sense of like, oh, we're gonna do a oneer here. It's just longer than what we are used to as audiences, with like a lot of edits.
To be.
Yeah, right. Like that he holds on these shots and like all like throughout the whole film, and he does this thing too, where it's like, it's a lot of dialogue, for better or worse. Like he does this whole thing. It almost felt like to me, like this is just like my own like head imagination. I'm sure it was nothing like this, but like he just found out like all these things about poker and like wanted to just like I wanted to explain and I want to show people how much I know about poker now. So I want to make this freaking movie and just like wedge all this other stuff in there. But and I do have some very nitpicky things about it also that were like he wouldn't go to a military like he essentially went to the same prison that he was already in,
But
which
why
he would
would
not.
he? Because he was
Exactly.
out of
He would
he was out of the
exactly.
military.
He's a civilian. Willem Dafoe's character is also civilian. He would not go back to a military prison. I'm sorry. Stop it. Do your research. Also, he wears his damn cover. One, he's a PFC when he was in the military. They essentially don't make him any younger when we go back to these like sequences where he still looks exactly the same. Oscar Isaac. If he was a PFC, I mean, I don't know when he went in, but usually if you're a PFC, you're like a very young
20,
person.
21,
Yeah,
22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I know
thought
that
was,
much.
right?
I know that
Exactly,
much,
right?
and I ain't went to the military.
So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, he's got his like save it like.
Well, you were right. He was wearing his cover inside,
Yeah,
which
he's
you're
wearing his
not
cover
supposed
indoors.
to do. Right?
No one else is wearing it, which you're not supposed to do anyway. So I don't know. Those little fun. I do love those sequences though, because it was like a very like man, it really like
extreme fisheye.
Yeah, like, and they used like a. I thought it initially was a 360 camera, but it's actually a VR lens that they put on the camera, and it's like a 220 degree lens, which is why you get the like curvature when we're going through the halls and everything. Which man, yeah, love that stuff. You know that's really the most like movement we get in the film. You know, which which lends
those
more
are
power
his
to those scenes.
those are his memories, right? So we're seeing
Right,
what
yeah,
he
yeah,
remembers.
so he's,
So
like,
it's
thinking back.
skewed, which I really liked. Aina said it made her feel sick, which kind of that's
Yeah.
the point. Like
Totally.
That's the point.
Yeah, because if you were to look through a VR headset, it would be normal, but because we're seeing it through a normal projection of a film, it's like so crazy. Yeah, so it was a really cool way to utilize that. Yeah,
I like it. Lala, what did you think of the card counter?
All right, let me read my Letterboxd review because I didn't have to read that. So I wrote, interesting take on a gambling film. Had a lot of elements, not sure if they all blended well. As a character, I was very interested in William Tell, his story, his life. But once they added in a young kid for revenge and Tell's obsession with guiding him, I was trying to figure out, was it for his own absolution or what? Did he see himself in the kid? Either way, interesting watch, but was heavy on long drawn out scenes, dialogue that needed too much explanation, and I never felt quite settled in the characters. That's my review of this film. And again, it's not the worst film I've ever seen in my life.
right.
It's not
It's
not the greatest film I've ever seen in my life, but it's somewhere in the middle of that. And I can't really place it because it was just, I don't care about Ty Sheridan's character at all. I have no connection to him. Just because your daddy was with this man in the military, I do not care. I was very interested in Oscar's character though. I was like, can we get some background on the kid? Because he's like super quiet. He likes repetition. You kind of make it known that he likes repetition because he's been in prison.
Yeah, he likes routine.
He likes routine. It took me a minute to figure out why he wrapped everything in white, but then I looked at his jail cell and he sleeps on covers like this. It's very pale and white and stuff like that.
I wonder too if he has like an element of OCD as well. Like, I wonder if that's.
I feel like if you're a person who likes patterns like that, it's easy to develop an OCD type of mentality as well.
Because he's definitely dealing with his prison stint though,
right?
Because he took the clock and he took the lamp
music.
and he took everything.
Yeah.
And he
moved
moves
ambient noise.
Anything that couldn't be like he didn't have this in prison. I don't have pictures. I didn't have pictures. I didn't have a phone. I didn't like he needed it to be, because to me it was very similar. I equated it to when Cap and the Marvel films was like sleeping on the bed. It's like I'm sleeping on a mushroom. Like I gotta sleep on the floor because it's hard.
I feel like I'm gonna sink into it.
Yeah, you're gonna sink into it. So for me, I equated it to that. But this film just had like I said, it had a lot of elements that they just didn't blend well together. It gave me Taika vibes. No offense to Taika fans out here. I know if
Tyler was here, he'd be all over you right now, right?
He would have turned his camera off.
Right? If Tyler was here, man, if Tyler was here, he wouldn't want to be on the show anymore. But it gave me Taika vibe because Taika has a tendency to have all these like nice ideas, but he's like, he doesn't shave them down, or he doesn't have people to shave them down for him to be like, no, pick like 2 or 3 of these and let's go. But Taika would be like, I got 15 ideas, let's run with it in the whole
We
movie.
got to put them
I
all
felt like
in, right?
we got to put them all, and it just didn't blend well. If you got 15 ideas, that's great, and if they all blend well, that's great. To me, this film just didn't gel the way that I would have liked it to gel. Tiffany Haddish is La Linda. She wasn't spectacular. She wasn't anything extra.
No, I'm so glad
She
you said that, 'cause I was like,
she wasn't anything. I was like, I could have done without her character, but he needed some type of like female human connection. So like that was fine. I also like, listen, just put a little pause in this. I know Tiffany was going through some stuff, but girl, get your life together, because you made out with Oscar Isaac. We did a sex scene with Oscar Isaac. You fumbled the bag, baby girl. I was like watching that movie. I was like, is she?
You made it. Like
you made it. You made out with Oscar Isaac. You did a sex scene with him. Honey pie. Get it together. But
you even get to see his naked butt in that scene, so she got to be naked with Oscar Isaac.
She got to be naked with
him. And he might have been
like,
wearing something, but still.
And I would say this too: when they kissed, when he came in, he was like, "Listen, let Oscar Isaac come into my hotel room and
like,
be that close to me.
Super close too.
Be that close to me.
Invading your space. Like,
He just kept becking her to a wall. You better stop playing with me. We about to have a family tonight.
That kiss, though, that kiss was genuine. Like
that was a real kiss, but also
it
felt like a kiss of a man who hasn't kissed a woman in years.
Right.
Oh,
That's but she kissed him back just as hard.
No,
she did.
Listen here, I needed to take out Tiffany and just insert myself. You understand me? That's how wonderful that was. I was like, my God. But anyway, I digress. But this film just didn't gel to me. He played such a pensive, quiet character.
We barely see him crack a smile.
We barely see him crack a smile. He barely does anything. But
Super
it was just
focused.
like he was very like interesting to get to know, and you gave me nothing. You gave me more about this kid that I could care less about.
But the kid wasn't about the kid. The kid was about
but still, it was
William.
like this. He was more like a plot device.
Right.
I understand that too, but I didn't.
I totally get it.
Give me a different plot device. I was just like, he wasn't compelling enough of a character for me to care that he was along on this journey. Because it was just like some kid comes to you and tell you that your daddy worked. You and my father worked together, and he gives you some type of sob story about him dying and killing himself because of what happened.
And you take him along on this road trip.
And then you take him along on this road trip because you're trying to change his life. It was just like,
trying to change him, and like
why?
Because he did such terrible things, he needed to make better.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand it was the absolution, but there was to me, it's lazy writing to have that. To me, that's a trope to have like, well, my daddy did that, but he died. You know, he came out and he got addicted to drugs, but I didn't. I just started gambling and making money, but being very smart about it. Like, it was such a difference of like what could happen. You know, I could blow my brains out, or
care for the kid.
You want to care for the kid, but they just didn't do it in a way
I get it.
that that I cared about. For me to be like I said, the characters left me feeling kind of empty. Yeah, and I was
more like,
I feel like that's the point
that he
though.
did it. I'm like, God damn it!
Why
did you go and do it anyway? Like,
but you know, I'm a character person, and if the characters leave me feeling empty, who am I latching on to? If I don't care about none of y'all, why do I care about the story? If I don't care about anybody, you know what I mean? Like, you have to give me some. It don't have to be everything, but there was nothing about this kid that I cared about. Your mama left. Your daddy killed himself after he was beating you, but you're trying to get retribution for this man. If you don't go to school and become a better person, if you don't write a book about what this man did instead of going to kill him, like, how you gonna kill a man that taught your daddy how to torture people? You really think you gonna win?
I know.
You have no training.
He's been doing this his whole life,
and with a pellet gun too. They mentioned
trying to like trank him or whatever.
I was just like, you not. And then because my thing was, I thought it was gonna go in a way of being like, Oscar's character would get triggered, and then maybe he falls back on that torture stuff, which essentially he did towards the end. But I was like, maybe you was gonna teach this kid how to like really get some retribution. But you let this boy. But here's the thing: you thought you knew this kid. You thought you could scare him. His daddy.
He thought he could buy him.
His daddy used to beat him. There's no talking a person down that survives something like that and has a thought in their head that they want to do. You can't talk them down.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
just
it's true.
it was just so many elements. Like I said, it's a very interesting movie. And if anybody hasn't seen it, I recommend you go see it because I feel like it's a conversation starter. I feel like people can have a conversation about this. But
Yeah, there's a lot they tried to do that was
weird
good.
background for it to be about
Yeah.
gambling. The gambling part is what, like, you didn't need to have that element. You could have this
Yeah, it
story
could have
could
been
have
like
been
anything. He could
he
have
could have
done
been he could have
any
been
kind of
working at a diner in the
yeah, something.
somebody's kitchen or something, and then somebody would have been like, "Are you PF William Tillage? I've been looking for you. My father, whoop de whoop." Like, it could have been something like that. Like, but the gambling aspect made you think that it was more. It was something more. It was like the gambling was a side thing. It was like
Quite literally
Also,
too,
it's like
because they
this-
go to the World Series of Poker and he walks away from the game. Which
He walks
I
away.
kind of liked, actually. I liked that he just
No,
was
it was
like,
the-
I got something else to do right
Yeah,
now, and
yeah.
just leaves the $1 million poker.
No. But see, but I
tournament,
like that
so.
too because it wasn't because the tournament wasn't about him making money. It was actually about him making money for this kid.
Right,
And that
which
was
he
the
had already
thing,
And
done.
when
too.
he
always said,
and when
like,
he found out
I
that the
wasn't in it
kid
for
didn't
that.
really care about this, he was like, "All right, well." And then he found out the kid died. I was like, "Could we have seen that? Because I wanted to see the kid die. You gonna bring
Right.
this kid into my orbit, but I don't get to see him die."
But this is a drama,
What?
so there would be no reason to show us that. I do think that one of the best scenes is the scene where he gives the
Yeah.
kid the money, and that started to make me go, "Oh shit, where is this movie going?"
Yeah.
And I really got hooked at that point. I was like, okay, I did not expect this scene, and I really did enjoy watching him scare the shit out of Ty Sheridan.
Yeah.
And Ty
I was
Sheridan
like, oh,
looked much more like a man than I've ever seen before. Like, he actually was all kind of built,
Yeah.
and you hear the
And
terrible
then you
little
got
mustache.
Willem Dafoe, and you didn't do nothing with him. How you gonna have Willem Dafoe?
No, but I don't know.
And he barely in the movie.
He has enough stature that he doesn't need to be in it much, because as soon as he's in it, that's all you needed.
No, but I needed
Yeah.
more. But I needed more though. Like, he has like such a gravitas to him. Like, when he speaks, when he does things, it just wasn't enough for me. Like, even like the flashback scenes where he was like pretty much gaslighting them into like torturing and killing people and stuff like that. I could have did a little bit more. Like, if they would have showed him having PTSD about this ahead of time and not having it after the kid said something to him, or like not having it after he saw him at the thing, I was like, oh, this is a thing. Because I'm like, why does he care about the security conference? It was just like a lot of things that could have, if you would have
thought it
maybe
was kinda
changed some
funny,
scenes
yeah, that-
around, maybe some things would have like maybe would have laid
Yeah.
a little differently. But it was just like little pieces here, and then it was just like, watch it,
yeah.
gambling, poker,
Yeah.
blackjack.
And I love how it's like, it's just this, it just felt so random too. Like, oh, there just so happened to be this like security conference at the same
with this guy at
thing
the
that
same
he's-
thing.
Yeah, like, yeah, with
Mm.
specifically, yeah, Willem Dafoe's
Yeah.
character that he knew.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, that all seems too convenient. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But I
mean,
do like the scene between him and Willem in the room. My question is, who
Yeah.
who wrapped everything up?
No, that
Did-
was
did Willem.
it was
did
it was
Willem do
William
it?
Tell. It was William Tell.
Okay,
that
that's
was
what I thought.
Oscar
That's what I
doing
thought. Because
it.
I was like,
It was
You
his
been in my house
Dexter
this
moment.
long?
He knew he was
I
going
was
to do
like-
this,
Yeah.
so he.
but I was like, you've been in my house
recreated
this
it.
long that you was able to do this.
yeah,
You been
Every
going this
single
long?
piece of furniture was wrapped.
do
in
love
one.
that
Every
whole
single
sequence,
piece. But I
too.
like that whole sequence too. I like it when he
Yeah.
was like, listen, let's just go into this back room. One
I
of
mean,
us
yeah,
gonna
and that's a
come out
great
alive.
use of a long take though too.
No,
like,
yes.
we don't have to see all the violence. We
We
like go
don't.
in, we like hear some stuff, and then we slowly move
Yes.
back. All of a sudden, it's
Yes.
like some time
just-
has passed because the
Yeah, I
sun's
love
coming
that they
through, you're
turned
like,
the
"Oh my
light up in
God."
that moment and
Yeah.
brighten the
Yeah.
room. They did a good
Damn.
job with that.
Yeah,
And then he
yeah.
comes
Um,
out just like,
Hands all
broken
busted.
broken
Beautiful.
fingers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
To me,
great.
that
Great
was a
job.
beautiful long
Yeah.
shot that I don't have a problem with. But the
Yeah.
long shot that I was like, I'm about to burn down all these films is the long shot at the end with
There's
them
so many
fingers
different
on the
ones, like-
glass.
Okay, that
Why was
lasted
that
a little
While the
long.
credits roll.
long.
It was a little long.
I
I'm gonna give you
was-
that. They could have
I was
stopped,
so
but I actually don't
annoyed.
think they cut. I think that if you watch slowly, their hands are
No,
still
their hands
slightly
are
moving.
moving.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
Their
like
hands are
live
moving.
through the
Slow
whole
motion.
credits. Yeah.
They shot it in slow motion,
No,
and they are slightly
I-
moving. Yeah,
I wanted to punch somebody in the
So
face.
funny.
And then finally, the smallest credits of all time
Yeah.
just scroll up the screen. And I was just like, why are we on their fingers so long? I'm like, is something happening?
Yeah, is something else gonna happen? Like,
What is
No,
happening?
I love the
And I was-
ending.
Also-
I'm glad it was the fingers and that they stopped
Ugh.
right there, because the whole
Right.
point
I
was
don't mind the fingers. It was too
It was
long.
it was too
I
long.
don't
I
mind-
agree. I
because
even
them
kind of
together,
said that. I
I
was like,
I like that Tiffany Haddish's character was there for him.
Right.
Obviously, they have a connection, and jail is not going to stop that connection. I thoroughly enjoy that. I like that they established that they've met each other before multiple times. That he's probably been watching her because he liked her even from afar. I like that type of thing. I like the fingers at the end. Too dang on long.
I love too. Like it seemed like Tiffany had to like kind of figure out how she was gonna like.
Yo, listen,
do
when
it.
she went like this,
nails. I know.
Yeah.
when she went like this, and then that finger turned up for her to touch the, I was crying from laughter. I thought that was so. I was like, "What is she? Is she gonna put her out? Is she put her finger and then he put his?" I was like, "Okay," because that was funny to me. I was like, that is hilarious.
Also, another nitpicky thing. Oscar says that Ty Sheridan's like mom or whatever is in Falls River, Oregon. Falls River isn't like a town in Oregon. There is a Falls River, Oregon, but it's not like a place you live. Like it's a river, and it's like in Central Oregon.
And
like,
it's in Central Oregon, but they say it's next to Portland, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's outside of Portland. I'm like, it's like 3.5 hours outside of Portland.
Right.
So y'all ain't think nobody was
Isn't
gonna
it
figure
towards
that
Hood
out?
River? Isn't it up in the Hood River area?
No, it's over by. It's closer to Bend. It's like
really
down the road from Sun River. Yeah.
Sun River? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So
that's
Falls
not.
River
That's like saying you might as well have been from Eugene. That's closer.
I know.
Like,
I was like,
that makes no sense.
That's
like
interesting.
A whole other world.
A little research would go along.
I know. Just look at him.
Okay.
Well, no, but your point about Leavenworth, the fact that he was put in Leavenworth for what he did in Abu Ghraib makes perfect sense. Like that's exactly where he would have gone.
Yeah.
But
wouldn't be
but not for just committing murder. Now, and I imagine also that because he could prove he knew the kid and the kid had come to him, I don't imagine that his sentence would be ridiculously long for the murder of that guy. It was a crime of passion in a lot of ways, although wrapping all the furniture might have.
Super creepy.
That's premeditated. That screams premeditated. I'm sorry.
But not really,
There's no
because
way
he was in Vegas and he had to go clear to like South Carolina or something like that. And so he drove across the country straight through, which means that he was thinking about it the whole time. So is that really, that still could technically be second degree. Technically.
Right. He is premeditated. He had his mind made up.
Either way,
I think he wanted to kill the guy way before the kid
moment
ever showed up.
he did, but the kid was his trigger. The kid was his reason, because he didn't have a reason. Because for the most part, he was a good guy. Because if that's the case, then he would have just been out here
alone.
He would have just been out here torturing people. He just wanted to move on. He just wanted to just play his little blackjack, make his little $750 every now and again, live his life, wrap his furniture, be gone by his day. But then this kid came and shook up everything. La Linda shook up some stuff, some feelings within him too. But at least he got a nice little bang out before he went to jail, though. I said, "Good job, boy." I said, "Good job."
Did you guys get a
because
like?
He knew he was gonna be there for a while. He knew.
Did you get a Little Mermaid kiss the girls scene from the whole like lights moment? It felt very kiss the girls.
Very, honestly,
moment.
that scene might have been the most innocent scene of the entire film.
Yeah.
Because
also,
she was like, she was like, you don't do anything, you don't go out, you don't go out anywhere, you don't shake it up, a little variety.
Wash your sheets at least.
You know what I mean? And when she took him out, I was like, that's nice. And when they hands was dangling, I was like, y'all gotta hold hands at one point because this is childish. What's happening right now?
But then they held hands into the poker room.
But then they held hands, and it was cute. It was cute.
So that is a moment, and as I already mentioned, I like the scene. I think it's a beautifully shot scene. But it's one of those moments where they used a drone, but not in a bad way. The only thing I didn't like about it was the way they just kind of ducked behind that tree and then faded to black. And I thought that was a little odd. They could have just cut while it was still in the air, and it might have been better. But there's so much drone use in the last couple of years. I did give a shot to try to watch Ambulance, and oh my God, they used way too much drone in that movie.
I love it.
You do? Okay.
I knew what I was getting into too, but I was like, man, this is ridiculous, and I'm here for it. So
I feel like they're relying on it too much.
Would you say the drone shots in Ambulance is equivalent to the lens flare in Star Trek?
No, because honestly, Michael Bay still does all of his like low shots, even during just like conversation in Ambulance, which I thought was like, what are you doing, dude? They're not fighting. There's no action here. What are you doing? This is not a guy getting out of a Lamborghini.
It's going around.
It was weird. Like Michael Bay's style.
He's got to do it every time.
Nobody should stop learning. Nobody should stop learning. That's my biggest thing. If you are a cinematographer, director, set designer, whatever, you should always be learning. You should always be growing. because I feel like sometimes directors get stagnant, and then it's just like you could tell a director, like, say you don't even know what movie you about to watch, because somebody's like, "Oh, I'm about to just put this movie in." You like, "Oh, Michael Bay created this. Michael Mann, J.J. Abrams, this is James Cameron. Oh, Steven Spielberg." Like you know, you know, because it's like they don't. Some of their shots are just like, man, they did that in Avatar. He did that in E.T. when he was
Michael
like,
Bay
home.
is totally
It's a
known
lot.
for repeating the same shot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
over
God.
again.
Yes, I know. And it's just
He
like,
just wants his flavor. Yeah, that's
it's
right.
just like,
But like this is
expand
his
your flavor,
flavor,
baby.
like, you know, from I don't know.
And then
I don't
it's
know.
and then it's a like, yeah, it's a pan around, you know, circular 360 that's in slow motion. Yeah.
I will probably
like every
try to
Bad Boys
finish it,
movie
but-
has it too.
Right.
Like he did it in every single Bad Boys movie, which I like because he only does it one time in each of those movies.
And it's when they were getting out of the
and I'm
car
like,
most of
"Ooh."
the time, right? In those moments.
What's that?
What like when they get out of the car, he does the circle around them.
Sometimes, so like in the first one,
or
it's
like
a
when
very, it's like
usually
they
if it's like an explosion and they're like back to back, whenever they're like back to back, it's a circle shot. Or
yeah,
like
it's
if they,
it's
they
always
rise
different.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
in
I
the
think in the
first
first
one,
one,
in the first one, like Will Smith was like running after someone, and
Yeah,
he
he was
couldn't get
going-
him, and like he like ends up like falling down or something like that. There's something big happens, and Martin Lawrence gets there, and they both get up.
Get
you
up,
know,
yeah, it's a
in
get
slow
up
motion
scene.
into
Oh,
frame.
I
And then
remember
it's
that.
a-
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then they like
360.
and they're like super sweaty and like
Yeah,
exhausted.
and
I
think,
don't
like,
like
in the
those
second-
movies. I'll be honest.
And I think in the
don't
second
like
one and the
them.
third one, I
love
think
them.
it's when I love those
The
movies.
third
I think
one's
in the
like, yeah.
second, the third one, you didn't need it, but it was still a
Right.
decent storyline to where you were like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's fine, because he was a playboy. You know, spoiler alert, had a kid. I gets it. It's
Mhm.
fine. But I think in the second one, they were like back to back, and they were like, and it was a 360 around them. And They
Yeah.
were like shoulder to shoulder, back to back, or something like that. So, yeah, Michael Bay does have a style. He just needs to expand, baby. Because
I don't know. He's
But
kind
alright.
of in the latter half of his career at this point, so I don't see him changing much.
hey,
That said,
some people go to college in their 80s. I'm just saying. So,
that's true.
you can
That's
grow.
true. But are
Change.
they revolutionizing their style in their 80s? That's anyway.
You never know. You
So
never
we're
know.
gonna rate this film. We are actually over 2 hours, which is really weird. I didn't expect us to go over. But let's go ahead and rate this film. I'll go first this time since that's the way we were doing it last
Yay!
time.
We love it.
This is oh damn.
I feel so like vindicated that both of you guys, at least it feels that both of you guys are like
It's a 6. It's a 6. It's
Yeah.
it's watchable.
Mhm.
It's worth a
Yeah.
watch, I'd say. There are some very
Yeah.
cool elements, and I like some of the, especially towards the end.
right.
If you're
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
it for
yeah.
poker, don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. Every time they get to the table, they leave. He does
Even
one
if you're watching
moment
it-
and then
Right.
moves
If
away
you're-
from it.
If
So-
you
Yeah,
think this is going to be like a 21 Now You See Me,
Yeah,
Molly's
any of
Game
that.
type of
It's
thing,
not
No.
Rounders. It's
Nah,
not Molly's Game. It's
it's
none of those.
not.
No,
It's
not
not a
Molly.
poker movie. This is a movie
Dude.
about Abu Ghraib and torture.
PTSD.
Honestly,
like,
so
yeah,
it's a 6.
It's a military movie.
Yep.
It's a military movie drenched in gambling
Mhm.
for some reason. So
Right. How about you,
that's all
Brian?
it is.
Yep. 6.
6. All right.
Yeah.
How about you, Law?
I give it a 6.5 because of that sex scene. So
No, that's it. You're like,
you know,
Gotcha.
Tiffany, that girl. Oof, I
Lucky,
pray that I don't
right?
fumble the bucket. I don't fumble the ball, man, when I make it, because if I can get into a scene like that, oof. All right.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, this has been another episode, season 2, episode 7 of The Real Study. We will, again, to reiterate, we will be watching 3 Akira Kurosawa films for next week. He is a legendary Japanese director from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, all the way, I think, until the 90s. Before he died, he was still making movies.
Mhm.
So if you haven't watched any of those, it's a good time to kind of brush up. These are a lot of films that get brought up in film school because they are so revolutionary, and Hidden Fortress is one of them, which, of course, we all know George Lucas used heavily in order to make the Star Wars films. So this should be
I
interesting.
mean, Seven Samurai.
The Seven Samurai
is
as well.
like- is
So-
like
Yeah,
used in,
I've
like, so
seen
many-
none of these.
Magnificent
Yeah.
Seven is Seven Samurai.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it
Seven
quite
Samurai.
literally
Yeah.
is the same
Totally.
movie. So if you've seen that,
I've
you've
seen
already
none of
sort of
these
seen it. But
films,
Yeah.
So I'm
I've seen Seven
excited,
Samurai,
actually.
but I have not watched Hidden Fortress or Akira.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
same.
I
I'm
haven't
excited
seen
to see
any of
both of
those,
those.
so I'm
so.
excited. I'm happy
Yeah.
that we're
Nice.
branching out to some,
Yeah.
other language, other
One is like
foreign
classic
films mostly.
cinema, and then
Right.
like yeah,
Mhm.
other language cinema, like for sure.
Well, and he's got the style and approach that Kurosawa had is a lot of what's still used today. A lot of people have taken his styles and concepts, and when you watch it, you're going to be like, "Holy crap, they did that in the 50s."
Yeah, I know. It's
Sweet.
Pretty
I
cool.
can't wait.
So, and yes, all available on HBO Max. So if you've got a subscription, you can
awesome.
watch all 3 films.
Yeah.
That said, this has been another episode. Thank you guys for stopping by
Yeah.
Bye,
and
guys.
watching
Thanks
us
to the
so
real
much, you
students
guys.
for
talk
being
movies.
here. Appreciate you.
Have a good week.